Hello and welcome to another live episode of the Digital Orphanage, and we're coming to you again from the Museum of Computing in Swindon. And if when you're watching this stream, so we're going quite low tech, we're going off my phone again, so I apologise if the sound isn't perfect, but if you fancy donating towards the museum, if you go to www.museumofcomputing.org.uk, they do actually have a donate button there. So if you like what you're seeing, go along, donate, and every little thing helps, because as you know, we're closed at the moment, so it would really help a lot. So last week I was here and I was cleaning the first of the 8-bit cabinets. I thought I would get all of them done, but I haven't. I've only got the first one. So I'm back here, it's another Sunday, I'm a volunteer, and we're going to tackle, at the very least, the second one, which is all Commodores and Acorns and Oryx. But we're going to start off with a little quiz, which is, what does the ZX80, the Vic-20, and of course,
and me,
guest star in the corner, in Dictionary Corner, we have Neil from RMC.
hello everyone.
At a
Maintaining a
Yes.
social distance with
Yes.
mask at the ready should I need to move.
Indeed. So, what links all three of these together? And the bonus question is, which of the three looks the best after this amount of time?
Can you retro break me?
Yes, actually, which one's the odd one out? Yes, if I put all three of these in the sun, which is the odd one out? Any guesses in chat? Of course, behind the camera we have Mrs. TDO, so if you hear a disembodied female voice, she's there.
Simon Barnes says, very little memory.
Yes, higher than a ZX80, is that higher than a lower than a ZX80? Alright, and of course, the answer is, they were all released in 1980. There we go.
Yeah.
40 years.
Yep, this weekend, 40 years, well me anyway, I don't know exactly the dates of those machines, but yeah, 40 years.
40 years.
I'm going to say the Vic-20's probably held up the best. If I had to pick one, I'd pick that.
There we go. And what have you been doing with your weekend then, Neil?
I was spoiled rotten by my other half. We went for a lovely meal and did a Zoom family quiz. I couldn't go and see any of them, so made the best of a difficult situation to have a 40th birthday. But it's a great weekend, yeah.
And of course he hung out with all of us, the other day.
Yep.
Now I missed the beginning of that stream because I was doing another good favour, which was to give blood. So if you can,
Oh, well done.
give blood. That was my 50th donation. Finally. And one thing I would love to have gotten to Neil to unbox beforehand is just down here.
Oh.
So Neil, it's a couple of days late now, but what I will do, I will put these down here and back off to a safe distance, and you can unwrap them.
Thank you very much. Do you want me to do it here on the table? Or
Yeah, why
yeah.
not?
Okay. I've got a huge birthday card.
Now,
Well,
some
I like
of
the back
you
of it already.
might remember some of
Oh,
these
yes.
from the streams.
Happy 40th birthday, keep it retro. Thank you very much. It's the, I don't know if that's in shot, but it's me in the Epic game from the quiz. And there's also battle chess on the back where I'm the queen.
Now I've actually redone that from scratch because the other one was too low res.
Oh, too low resolution.
so,
Yeah.
so you've been redone.
I'm worried now about what's
There
in
is a theme. There is a theme to this. We'll cover up the Museum of Computing just in case it brings their name into disrepute. No, it won't. It won't.
What have we got here? Looks like a picture.
And this is where Neil
I
does.
can see what it is.
Neil does a whistling advert here.
Oh, did it come from them? Okay. Thank you, oneclickprint.com.
Not sponsored, but I thought I would. Well, you know, if you need something printed, who are you going to use?
This is definitely going to be hung in the cave. And taken down when my mother comes to visit. Sorry, I'm taking ages about
That's
this.
all right. Let me take.
It's very well wrapped.
Oh! Avengers Assemble. Hopefully it's focusing in on that.
It's the glare more.
It's the
than-
glare, is it?
Yeah.
It's
Do we to hold it?
yeah,
Yeah.
you go for it.
So tip it forward towards me. That's it. Perfect.
It's a scene depicting the evil fake Echo overlooking a very attractive me. And I can't see from this angle the other faces. Who else have we got in there? Oh, we've got Andrew, we've got Dan, you, and Dr. A. Have I missed anyone? That's everyone. Oh no, that's Monster. That's Ian. That's not. Lovely. Thank you very much.
I think.
There we go.
I will hang
Arms
that in the
reach.
cave. Thank you.
There's several comments about it, like massive boobs.
Thank you.
There we go. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy one.
I would shake your hand.
No, that's fair enough. So ZX80, that was given a bit of a clean. So I'm not giving all of these a deep clean. They're just getting a freshen up, and then some might come at some point for either myself or Neil to do a bit of a thorough clean and refurb. But this one goes back in the cupboard. And why not? We'll start with the Commodore Vic-20. And whilst cleaning them, I'm also going through some of these because I was quite surprised on this one because it says 1981 for the Vic-20, which we believe, what did you say, Neil? That it was-
1980. I think 81 was Japan, but 80 was the Vic-20's release, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's what I saw. So unless something's changed since then, it was January, so 1980. So we'll double check that and get that corrected. But I'm pretty certain this was 1980. And this one says the Vic-20 was the first computer to sell more than 1 million units. Its color graphics and low price made it an instant success. It shared the same processor and basic as its predecessor, the Commodore PET. And the name VIC comes from the video interface chip used for graphics and sound. So it's nice having these little tidbits of information to go with the computers. And as usual, just using some just gentle cleaners today. Nothing stringent.
What have you got then? What
Well-
are gentle cleaners?
The other thing I was thinking of doing was using some of this. This is a gentle cleaner, otherwise known as my homemade cider. So there you go, Neil.
That's for
That's for you as well.
That'll clean my insides.
That'll clean your inside. Neil's about the only person who's ever tried my cider and said, that's quite all right. So as a punishment, he gets a whole flagon of it. Right.
Snog 33 is asking where the murder gloves are.
Ooh.
Do you need the murder? Do we
Uh,
have some alcohol hand gel anywhere?
Yes, just here.
Thank you. Aware
I have.
passing things to each other.
I need a set of Neil's nice trendy black murder gloves. I've only got what was the comment on my last video? The lady from Acorn Antiques.
Oh yeah. The thing is, the black ones are disposable, so it's not environmentally the best things to have. Nice to get some reusable ones.
Because, you know, these are full of finger juice. So, have you trademarked that one?
Haven't trademarked
No,
finger
finger
juice.
juice,
No, you
okay.
can have that.
Okay.
It's like an episode of Finger Bobs, says Simon.
Yeah, look at it.
I like Pillock's comment about Victorian murderer.
I missed that one. Thank you, Pillock.
See, I'm at a disadvantage here because I'm cleaning. I got these
Can't see
two
the
laughing.
chat.
I can't see chat. The plan is we've got a large TV on a movable stand, and I think that would make a great streaming platform because then I can see the chat as well. But as it is, I've turned it on.
Yeah, this is the start of hopefully the shape of things to come, isn't it? You want to introduce, you know, a streaming PC, more cameras, microphones, things like that, don't you? To be able to go around the museum.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
That'd be nice.
got to start somewhere, and I think this is a great start, to be honest.
I would have been here anyway, and it's
Yeah.
always nice having like-minded people along.
And you've got to give yourself a break sometimes. You're going to have to do some streams from the arcade machine.
Yes.
Just have people watching you play.
Yes.
You could have a guest. Interviews at the arcade machine. Oh, hello, Steve. Stephen Jones popped in of Checkmate Case Fame.
Ooh.
He says, great to see you two in the museum.
Ah. I think I've got two Stephen Jones following me.
I think that's the right Stephen Jones.
There
Hang
are-
on.
There are two. There
It's
are
a
two
Stephen Jones holding a remote control airplane, I think.
No, I think that's.
That's a different Stephen Jones.
I think so. Yes.
How big is the museum, says Simon Barnes.
Well, I don't know in terms of square feet or anything. It's obvious. It's not as big as places like the computing history. Everybody struggles with the name of that place. The nice thing is, this was the first museum, so it was able to pick its name and go Museum of Computing. So you know it's pretty straightforward. But I always struggle with the one in Cambridge.
Because you've got the one at Bletchley Park and you've got the one at Cambridge. And
Yeah.
I often confuse the names of those two. Yeah.
So the Bletchley one is like ours, but it's the National Museum of
That's
Computing.
right,
Because that was pretty much, I'd probably say, one of the birthplaces of modern computing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where
Om and
yeah.
Alan Turing.
computing history.
Centre for Computing History.
Centre for that's the word. That's the word I'm missing. Centre for Computing History. That's what, because that's a lovely place. And then they've got all the museums put a lot of effort in. But in terms of size, how big would you say this is? Because we've got 2 floors, but only one floor is open to the public. The other one is for storage and for the kids' coding club. So
I'm terrible with measurements, but
No.
I would say it's not a huge museum, but the price of entry reflects that.
yeah, I think that's very fair.
Costello says, I see Neil is the new Mrs. TVO.
I'm
She is
still
here also, she's still here.
Yeah, they like having their messages read out by a nice female voice. So.
Ah, Joe, feel free to step in. Keith has attached a very inventive cardboard microphone trumpet to the side of his phone.
I
Try and muffle me.
And Mrs. TVO sat behind it, so I don't know how well you'll be picked up.
is the volume me speaking, Neil speaking? Can you hear us? Is that fine?
Can I take a picture of the microphone trumpet?
You can. My phone's got a modern USB-C adaptation, so I've got nothing that plugs into it apart from power. So, and the YouTube software gives you no controls at all. I tried Streamlabs; they had a few more options, but this is. Hello.
I can't zoom with my camera now.
After.
I won't reach across you.
Because my previous phone was a Nexus 4, which we bought in 2013, and only a few months ago changed to some new phones. So I managed to eke those out. They were, I think, pretty much they need to go straight into the museum. Those Nexus 4s, but I managed to finally decide. It takes me ages to decide on new equipment. On the OnePlus 8 Pro. So went all out on those, and it's got 4 cameras, it's got all the 4K cameras and all the rest of it, and none of the software allows you to play with any of those nice features. So I don't know why that is.
Philip says we can't hear Mrs. TDO at all, but we can hear the gentleman. Okay, but I don't think she said anything.
No,
so-
I'm actually suddenly thinking.
No.
There is a lot of love for the Nexus phones. So.
Yes, I like stock Android. The OnePlus seem to offer that, although I seem to curse things like that. So when I bought the OnePlus 8 Pro, it then OnePlus have started to go away from the true Android. They disabled the beautiful infrared camera that's on board because somebody said it was an X-ray camera that let you see through clothes, which it doesn't. So,
Oh, you've got Zypho in the chat. He's popped in. He says,
hello.
I can hear the hot toothbrush scrubbing action. ASMR.
Yes.
And Dave's repairs is in the chat. So he bets that Mrs. TDO is knitting.
You would
It's
be.
usually a safe bet, isn't it?
It
But-
would be.
Oh, you are. I couldn't see that from here. She is knitting.
An enormous blanket now.
Yeah, she's going to keep warm because she's.
Yeah. We said last week I could knit, but I didn't get a chance between all the chat that was going on being read out, so I thought I'd take advantage this time.
So Neil being here is actually allowing Mrs. TDO to do the thing that she actually likes doing, which is to.
I think you said that I'd be able to do that.
And I like staring at a computer screen, so everyone's happy.
Everybody's happy.
And
So
Adam
cleaning.
says, I have the Nexus One. The Galaxy Nexus was it. The Nexus
Ooh.
5 and 6P, then onto a Pixel 3 XL. I don't like all the junk the other phone makers. Yeah, I hate all of that. Apps that have been put on that you can't uninstall is the
Bloatware.
thing I hate the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately OnePlus have started to go down now.
Hi Naoki. Dave says, is there a way to stop the autofocus on the camera? It's
Should I
happening
do
quite
that?
a lot.
Is it okay? Joe's going to try. It was doing it last time. At home when I was playing with it, it didn't do it. So if you can tap it on there.
I have done.
If it
so-
happens again, let us know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this will be one of the last streams with my phone because I don't think streaming from a phone, despite it being an octa-core 4K beast, is actually doing things right. So there we go.
Kat, who is Mrs. Pillock, will be cross-stitching while you
Hey.
clean.
So, Kat, here's a thought. I was thinking if I did some streaming of things like gaming and stuff like that from home, and this is something Neil, when I mentioned it to you, you said, was it Little Stream on the Prairie? So I would be playing computer games and Mrs. TDO would be knitting and helping with chat. So,
Oh, that's a controversial comment from Russell. Perhaps an iPhone is required. ...
Oh.
runs away.
Perhaps
Discuss.
an iPhone is required. Are you an Apple man?
Oh no! He's
right,
not worried about any overspray to these here.
The only thing I've got, okay, I can list the number of Apple things I've got. I've got, well, actually one of these was Mrs. TDO's, the original Apple Shuffle, because I remember we were sat there watching when Apple came up on the TV and it was this new MP3 player without a screen or anything, and I went, who would buy that? And Mr. TDO went, I quite like that. So I had to get one. And then, do you remember Big Pockets? They did this box of crap, and I just went and got one. And in there was another one. So, but at least you can use those as a USB. But I didn't load up the. What did Apple try and make you use?
iTunes?
iTunes.
No?
No, not iTunes. The thing that went on your computer. You had to sync out all the Apple stuff with.
Yeah, that was iTunes, wasn't it?
Is it iTunes? Does that do everything?
Yeah. Yeah, you can sync all your videos and you can squirt your firmware updates.
Yeah.
Things like that, yeah.
But some clever individual made this little DOS executable you could put onto it, and then all you'd have to do is plug it in and click it, and it would go and index all the MP3s and create the playlist.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to go anywhere near an Apple Mac, which was good.
Yeah.
Or iTunes. So those two, I did have an Apple disc box, although I think I sold that on eBay many years ago. And I got a few Apple shares, so keep buying Apple. All good. All good.
Vincent says, I still remember the touch wheel on the iPod. I found it brilliant back in the day. I did think that was nice when the very first iPod came out. The wheel. The original one was quite different, wasn't it? Quite a different wheel. In fact, wasn't it a mechanical one?
I thought the first one just had little. It looked like a wheel, but I'm sure you just clipped it, didn't you? Then they had one where you actually had a. Or did it?
I can't remember now. Maybe Jack can tell us. I thought the original one, you could move your finger around it and make a clicky noise as the menus navigated.
I remember.
Yeah, Russell says the first one had a physical click wheel. Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember going. I was put up to do some IT support for some live event that one of the company bigwigs was doing, and then he had an iPod. I remember seeing my first. It was the one with the hard disk, and like you said, with the wheel and everything.
I did buy the very first. I don't buy a lot of Apple stuff, but I did buy the very first iPod because, you know, I was in my early 20s and thinking, oh yeah, to get all that music in your pocket, brilliant, I love it. But I was still at a place where I was living paycheck to paycheck, month on month. So I bought it, loved it, and then was like, oh, I need the money, I've got to sell it. Well, it's still worth something. So I had it for about 3 months and then sold it. But my other half, Lily, has actually got an iPod. I don't know what generation it is, but it's the last one that had a spinning hard disk in it. So it's got like, I think 60 or 120 gig hard disk in, and then they moved to solid memory. And apparently this one that she's got's really quite a collectible one because it's got that capacity.
Yeah, I don't. You know, I like how they construct it, you know, how they package it. It's all done really well. I've just never liked being told how to use something. So my Android phones, they get configured to an inch of their life to just how I like it, and then which unfortunately then makes me not want to change for a very, very long time. Because before my Nexus 4, I had a Trio 650, and I don't know if my mate Alan will show up again on stream, but he would take the mickey out of me mercilessly for that, with the little aerial stuck up at the top, little stubby aerial. I had the 600 before that.
That's a phone. Nokia 8110, that's my phone.
Oh, is that your new? Oh, you changed again?
Yeah, I did have the 3110, I think it was, but it kept not detecting my SIM card. So I've gone to this. This is a 4G one. There's telephone calls. There's text messages. What more do you need?
So this, I'm guessing this is basically Neil giving some time off from your followers, really, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's so I can switch off a little bit when I'm not in the cave. Yeah.
Yes. You do give a lot to your job. I'm going to put that there. Right, one down. I'm going to put that there. In fact, I'm going to move this cake. We were going to have some cake because again I missed the cake on Neil's stream. So Mrs. TDO dished out some cake and they've all polished theirs off. And I was running around and you still got some. But I'm going to put that here. I'm going to enjoy that. It's going to go stale, I'm sure, but I'm going to enjoy that. What have we got next? I think we're going.
So that's finished, is it? The Vic-20?
Yeah, we're going to get chronological.
Wasn't too dirty?
It was a little bit dirty. A little bit dirty. And now we've got the bread bin. Of course, it looks identical to the. So they went all out for restyling it, didn't they? I think they just changed the colour of the plastic in the bin, and off they went. Has it even got the same ports? Oh no, they've redone the. Oh.
And you've got one joystick port on the side of the Vic-20, two on the C64.
Well, they've redone the bottom case by the looks of it. Yeah, because the Vic has got some really large cartridges, I've noticed.
Velociraptor likes the bread bin design better than the 64C. Discuss.
Oh, wow. The 64C was obviously to bring the looks of it. Actually, did it bring the look of it in line with the Amigas, or did it set the look for later Amigas?
I'd say it was before the A500. I think I'm gonna double check.
Well,
that.
we're going to check that because ultimately it looks more like a 600 slash 1200.
86.
86.
The 500 was 88.
So really, it's setting that new look.
Wedge. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like when Ford went with their new look, and they did the Puma first, and then all the other cars sort of followed that.
Dave says we've just delayed swag for next May. Who knows when we'll be back? So
that's
a
really
shame.
sad because
Yeah.
that's a really enjoyable event, and this is the worst part. I mean, it's just not being able to get together to do these things. So hopefully these streams that Neil, myself, other people do just help keep us all together and chatting and just
For those who don't know, swag is the Southwest Amiga group. So if you're in the Southwest, go and look them up. Even if you're not in the Southwest, it's well worth travelling to. We have people like Ravi from Nottingham travels down for swag. We've had people from all over come down, and it's a really good meetup based around Amigas, but not exclusively to Amigas. All sorts of kit turns up. So when swag gets going, do support them and look them up. And also Ravi, who I mentioned, has started a Nottingham Amiga group. I think it's the Robin Hood Amiga user group.
that sounds about
So
right.
check that out as well. I don't know if it's suspended now, Dave. I don't know what Ravi's doing.
Oh, he didn't do the latest one.
Right,
So,
so the last one was suspended, yeah.
because of the rule of 6.
Pillock says Pillock's very involved in it as well. He says we've turned the Robin Hood one. Sorry, I just let that motorbike go first. We've turned the Robin Hood one into a virtual one in September. That's a good idea. Just have a little Zoom call or something.
So Dave, you did a virtual swag. Is there not a chance of doing something like that again? Or is it just too hard to set up? Or you have done one of those, and that was quite good fun. I know it's not the same, but
So what's this C64 and then just another light clean with some
so all I've got is some deionized water with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol just to give it a little bit of a bite, but not
Okay.
much at all.
so there's no detergent, no.
No, just that, a brush, microfiber cloth, nothing really that will attack it, or it's just to give them a bit of a freshen up in the glass. You know,
Because most of them aren't that bad, with the exception of the Aquarius, which is pretty filthy.
Yeah,
Most of them aren't too bad. They certainly need it, but they're not too
I mean, Dragon is beautiful.
bad. Yeah, that one's
It's,
nice.
that one's shining.
That's loads of them.
Felix says we could have done it in real life. I think this is the Robin Hood one. But the distancing meant it would have been people stood with their machines and not mixing. The August one was great when they did that. So, yeah. I mean, the whole point of a user group is to take your pride and joy and to share it with people and let them sit down and use it. So if you can't go within 2 meters of it, yeah, it takes a lot of the fun away.
You have to spray it down with IPA
Yeah.
every time. Yes, of course, and that's the problem. We're going to have to figure out what to do for the museum. So we've noticed the Centre for Computing History is obviously planning to open on the 17th, or from the 17th, and they'll be doing a booking system and keeping things clean and keeping people, I was reading, in bubble zones. So we're going to have to figure out, I mean, we were thinking along the similar lines anyway, but yeah, just how do we do that? It's
Reese asks, how do they get dirty inside the cabinet? Just dust, or were they not thoroughly clean when they went in?
wow. I think, Reese, it's a combination of possibly not being clean when they went in, for some of them. Also, we do have the buses going along here at the moment, and until they electrify all the buses, they do kick out a lot of particulate. So I think, I mean, some of these have been behind glass for 8, 9 years, just sat there. So you know, things will get dirty just sitting around. The cabinets are not hermetically sealed.
Neither are the windows.
Things, yeah, I've got some ideas, but it all takes time.
And also the museum depends on volunteers.
Yes.
So, you know, it depends who's willing and
Well,
who's
yeah,
available. to
exactly.
do it.
And I was having a think about that. Obviously, it helps that I live quite local to the museum, so I can pop in and do stuff. But if you've got skills that you think somewhere like here might use, like desktop publishing skills, you know, printing skills, all those kind of things, website design, or all of those type of things that could be done from wherever you are. They don't necessarily need to be, you know, you don't have to come to the museum for that all the time. And I think a lot of us now are getting used to working remotely from everybody else.
And Charlotte Reese says, even though it's a 2-hour drive, I'd be willing to come and clean some computers with you.
Oh, that's nice.
Do you know that series? Is it comedians get coffee in their cars or something like that? Chat will tell me what the correct name of it is.
Carpool.
No, not carpool. No, it's an American show where the presenter just picks up a comedian in his car, a different car each time, and they just go get a coffee and chat. Yeah, you should do the same with cleaning computers. Keith cleans computers
With somebody.
with somebody.
At a socially distanced.
Laura's appreciating just someone cleaning at 6:10 in the morning. Her time.
I do wonder how many people just tune into you to see your cleaning, especially women who want to just see a man clean. Tune into you.
Put it on your just fans or only fans page, whatever it's called.
There's a lot of people using those now that they're not using it for what they were originally used for.
Really?
Yeah, I heard. It's almost like the gentrification of
Only
OnlyFans.
fans.
Yes, displacing the original users of it.
Dave says, Mrs. TDO, does he always wear orange gloves?
Sometimes yellow.
Yeah, proper marigolds for washing up.
Yeah, I do wear proper marigolds, as seen on some of my streams. Somebody asked, do you need gloves for hot soapy water? And I'm like,
Yeah, but what was that brown stuff?
You've got to be careful. I picked up a washing up bowl in the cave yesterday that I'd had on the side for a while. I got to go and take that out and clean it up because the kitchen's not, you know, you've got to go up some stairs. It's a hassle to take stuff up.
tentacle came out.
And I stuck my hand in and picked it up and forgot that I'd tipped out my ultrasonic cleaner into it with the rust remover.
Oh
And
yeah.
I didn't have a glove on, and immediately my hand started burning, so I rushed off to the bathroom to wash it off. Yeah. But be careful, gloves. Always wear your gloves.
The other thing as well, when you put yourself on YouTube, if you do something, there will be somebody who says, "Why are you wearing gloves?" And if you don't wear gloves, there will be somebody who says,
Why
"Why aren't you wearing gloves?"
Yeah.
I would prefer to go on the safer side. So, you know, use insulated wire rather than a paper clip.
Don't go
So
there.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Use a security bit
Use as a few.
instead of a Dremel.
Well, so
Lesson,
putting
I'm
computers
sure
in
you
the
was-
dishwasher now.
The what?
It says, what's your thoughts on putting computers in the dishwasher?
Ooh,
Chris
no-
Grayton, he says dishwasher is okay.
Yeah, I mean, me and Neil did have a chat about this. Technically, I mean, some people have done that. As long as your dishwasher isn't completely caked up with stuff, and you don't put it on a really hot wash, you know, it's kept, the temperature's kept low.
I tell you why I don't use a dishwasher. It's because I'm trying to get a builder to come in and do my kitchen, because when I bought the house it was a bit of a doer-upper and it's a complete mess. So I don't do it just because I don't want to take film in my kitchen and show you how awful my kitchen is.
Oh,
until I've actually got it done. Otherwise, there are occasions when I would stick something in the dishwasher. Yeah.
But of course, you know, a motherboard, I would say it depends on what's on it, and if you haven't got that fine control, you could find you put it in and you take it out and it's melted something. So personally, I prefer hand washing just because you can be a little bit more gentle. If anything happens, you'll notice.
Also, I sometimes have comments like that saying, why didn't you just put it through the dishwasher? But when I got to the end of taking every key off the keyboard and, you know, hand cleaning the PCB and everything, I'm just so much more familiar with the machine by having gone through it in that way than just sticking it in the dishwasher. So it's a nice way to get familiar with the system.
I think as well, if you're going to put, I mean, you know, you could technically, I guess, put that straight in, but there's going to be water up at the places that's going to take absolute ages to dry off. And what you don't want is to sit around and then start corroding things. So, but a motherboard, you could take that down, take it apart, strip it down. Yeah. The thing I'm trying to justify is a large ultrasonic bath.
Yeah, and they get very expensive very quickly when you look at the large ultrasonic baths. Really quickly.
Yeah, so you can get quite small ones, but you know, unless you want to do one end of a board and then another end of a board.
Someone in my Discord the other day suggested getting a tin bath, like you might get for in a professional kitchen or something, and putting a subwoofer underneath it, and just playing the right tune to get everything moving.
Bit of drum and bass. Or what would you? Is it there now? You know, what would you advise?
We should ask chat. What if you had to use a piece of music to get your tin bath moving?
What would it be?
To clean, what would you use?
Well, what did they use on Ghostbusters 2 to get the gunk moving?
Yeah,
I would go James Brown, wasn't it?
Do you remember Josh Wink, Higher State of Consciousness? It's a song that sounds like a dentist drill anyway. That's what I'd choose.
I'd use Slipknot Harrier. Slipknot Harrier. That's one of yours, Neil.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He was feigning, no, don't know what that one is.
No, it was so long ago now.
Yes, for those who don't know what I'm referring to, Neil did some quiz streams, and one of the things he did was to do a mashup between some music, some lyrics, so was it lyrics without the music, and then 8-bit or 16-bit
That's right,
music.
so it was, one pop music with video game music mixed into it. You had to guess the pop song and the video game song.
Some of them were awful, but in amongst those there were some pure gems that absolutely worked.
Dave says Bonnie Tyler Hart.
Yes. Oh no, what was the one you completely tricked us with?
Well, it was Glee, wasn't it?
Oh yes.
The Bonnie Tyler.
Yes, it was the Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
Sung
it was
by
sung
the
by
casting.
Glee.
Alright. Oops, hello.
Glee Gate, yes.
Glee Gate.
And now we move on to. Oh, actually, I didn't. Should we read the little card? So the Commodore 64, one of the most successful home computers. Nearly 20 million were produced from 1982 to 1993. Sounds about right. The C64 followed on from the success of the Vic-20. Much was made of the huge memory, all 64K of it, which at the time was unusually large. A large part of its popularity was due to its sound and graphics capability, which made the 64 the game player's choice. I think I only had one friend with a 64.
Yeah, I did too. I had a cousin with a 64. All my other friends either had Spectrums or NESs, and then later Mega Drives and SESs.
Yeah, I think.
I knew one other kid with an Amiga 500 when I had one. A lot of my friends had consoles or Spectrums. Yeah.
I had a friend with the BBC. I had two friends with the BBC Bs. I set the trend with the CPC, so there's three of us, or four of those, sorry, with 464s. I think there were some Spectrum people, but didn't really associate with them.
Yeah. They're on the bad estate.
Yeah. No, anybody who's had a Spectrum, no, they obviously kick-started everything, didn't they, really, in a big way. Right.
Velociraptor says, everyone I knew had a CPC, apart from one guy who had a Specky. I didn't know anyone else with a CPC when I had one, that was just me.
Oh, Neil, you should
I wasn't short of games, though. I managed to get hold of plenty of games, yeah.
You want to elaborate?
I'm going to get people in trouble. But, you know, the CPC is often thought of as the lesser machine, the less popular machine. But I never remember thinking, oh, there's not enough games for this, or I can't get the games I want. There was plenty of choice.
I think the CPC and the Amiga, they both suffered a similar fate, which was to not get the games that they deserved. Because they had a very similar cousin from another manufacturer with not quite as good graphics or sound that held them back.
Yeah.
It's only on the CPC side some of the French software that came out from some of the French houses that really showed what could be done with it if properly done.
Was it Git Dexter? Was a really good one from the French software.
I love that game, Git Dexter. Or Crafted and Zunk, I think it was called in front. It always amazes me why they changed the titles of certain games. Right, we now move on. 1984, this is where Commodore, I think, is probably throwing all sorts of stuff at it just to try and keep models coming. We have the Commodore 16, replacement for the Vic-20, so it's using the casing from the 64, but I'm guessing it's pretty much almost like an upgraded Vic-20 but a cut down 64.
So are the ports all the same as the 64? I see on the side you've got round joystick ports instead of the D9s.
I think the cases,
the cutout is the same, isn't it?
The cutout's the same, so you can use the same moulds.
Less moulds on the
Slightly
back.
different on the back. No, it is different on the back. So it looks like the top moulds are the same, but the bottom moulds are different. I never knew anybody with one of these.
No. What's the other one? That one there, the plus 4. I knew a kid with a plus 4, but not a C16. And we used to play Kickstart on the plus 4. I think Kickstart ran on that.
Oh, somebody's address on the bottom. I'm guessing that's who used to own it. I doubt whether they live there anymore. But, so again, you'll see these little tags hanging out. These are accessioned items, so they're in the official museum's collection.
Castaldo says, I can taste the frustration of the CPC owners that migrated to the Amiga and got burned in exactly the same way twice. He says, at least I went from the Specky to the ST. Ha! Not convincing me, Castaldo.
No. It's funny though, but it's like when I was working in Dixon's and we had the CDTV and then we had the CDI and it was like, oh, which one's going to be more popular and all these kind of things. In the end, it didn't really matter because it's all just history now. There's very little that still persists. I mean, I guess the only real winners were Apple and PC. Everybody else. It's all history, yeah. Which is why we're here.
Sorry, I'm just sharing your stream on Facebook.
Uh-huh. Thank you. It's Mr. Socials.
And anyone in the chat, if you want to go ahead and share the stream, please do so.
Yeah, most appreciated. So if anybody's joined us, we're here at the Museum of Computing in Swindon. Not too far from the cave, and possibly even less distance from wherever the new cave ends up, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, there'll be a video about that next week, about the cave
Ooh.
having to move.
Oh.
Drama!
and I don't live too far away. Neither does Mrs. T.
About the same distance.
About the same distance, yes.
Thank you for sharing it, Dave, and everyone else. I've just popped it onto Facebook.
Yeah. So this is where we're at. We're at the Museum of Computing in Swindon, and there's the address if you can't see it. It's www.museumofcomputing.org.uk, and they do have a donate button there. So we've been closed since March. So you know, if you've got a quid or so, 50p, anything, just throw it in the well. This being a very low-tech stream, nothing will come up on screen. No whizzy messages or anything. So.
The moderator doesn't know how to do all that. So.
Yeah.
The
I'm not a mod, so I can't share the link.
no, sorry, I
Wasn't really thought through, was it?
yeah.
Not fully.
We've got Dave says the cave should be under the museum, and Hillock says apologies if you mentioned this. Is the museum open yet for free booked visits?
Not yet.
We are going to discuss that at the committee meeting, which is, I think it's next week.
Just check.
But then we will put out a message and we'll put it out through the Twitter. So follow their Twitter account. Follow
Wednesday.
if you go to their website, all the links are there. We're going to have to do it as a bookable thing. What we need to figure out is just how many people can you have in a museum at the same time. It's going to have to be groups of, and you have to. I guess the problem is you want to keep people safe, but you equally don't want to make people feel that they have to, you know, shuffle around a museum really quickly to keep out of somebody's way, or somebody takes a long time on one bit, so somebody else is having to wait. So it's so tricky at the moment. I mean, any suggestions? What do people think museums should be doing? There's all sorts of ones that people are trying.
I put a poll up on Twitter the other day just asking if people would want to visit the cave because of similar reasons. We're going to get the results because it was interesting. Because I gave options of yes now or yes when, you know, think when the world's back to normal, or no or whatever. Let's see what they said. I'll give you the results. There we go.
A couple of little labels on here which don't belong to the machine. They're not the tag to do with it, I don't think. No.
So we had.
So I'm going to take those off.
Sorry, we had 713 votes. 52.5% said yes, they would like to visit the cave, or let's apply that to here, you know, a computer museum after the pandemic, and only 15% said yes now, but safely. So the appetite is perhaps, you know, not great.
I mean, we are getting questions like that, and where I work, I often get people pop up and ask me, you know, are you open yet? So there is a demand for it. I just wonder if it's great enough. But thankfully, we are volunteer-led, so you know it's people's time. You know, we don't pay somebody to come and sit here, so we've got that benefit.
I'm not being paid. He's not
Yeah,
paying
no, I'm
me.
not paying. This is.
Cake is more cake.
Okay, there's cake. And cider.
We lured you in.
And sexy Photoshop pictures of me.
Yes. and of course Neil has brought back. He's brought back the PC200.
Yes.
And
Patrons will have seen that. The public will see that next week. So that's okay. There's a video next week which includes a very rare Sinclair PC200, which is a really interesting machine because it's a IBM PC compatible in a wedge case, which I love, with RF out with a TV modulator. It's all wrong. It's all kinds of wrong.
I remember seeing one of those for the first time. I don't think Dixon sold them. The only people I saw selling them were Comet.
Okay.
Because Comet, in fact, my CPC came from Comet, and I think Comet were quite back in the earlier days were quite good supporters of Amstrad. I don't think Dixon's quite did it as much forum back then.
Diddy Dixon.
Dixon's, yes. Oh, God. You know when you work for a company and they bring out an embarrassing advert? And everybody's like, Dixon.
Or Busby the Bird for BT.
Oh,
I worked on BT direct inquiries and everyone would phone up and ask to speak to Busby and then hang up. Fine. Better than the people who would phone up and blow a whistle down the phone.
oh, right.
That hurt.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Pillock asks, you worked for Dixon's, Keith?
I did.
Tell us about it.
So, I started at Dixon's as a Saturday job. I'd had a previous Saturday job at Woolies, working on the pick and mix till. I was
Nice.
really quick on those, the old on the old till. Thankfully, having been turned down, well, actually, no, I didn't get turned down for a job. I applied at Woolies and a place called Texas Do It All. Was it? It wasn't Do It All back then. It was like Texas Home Care, whatever it was. One of the precursors to
Payless and Focus and all these ones.
yeah, it was a DIY shed. So they offered me a job, but it wasn't much for a Saturday. Then I worked at Woolies, which was good fun. And then whilst I was in the town centre, I then applied a little bit later for a job, mainly because I had my Amstrad. I then had my Amiga. I think I would have had my Amiga by that time. Yes, I had my Amiga. So I was enthusiastic about home computers and that. And that's the part of the store I worked on, which was the home computer part. So that, Dixon's, like most places, have their pound of flesh in that they want you there before the store opens. So you get paid like when the store opens to when it's shut, but they want you there early to help open up, and they want you there late to help tidy up and empty the bins and all the rest of it. Like the only perk you got was we could play on all the stuff. So if we got our jobs done at the end of the day really quickly, so empty the bins, run around to you could then play on, I don't know, the latest SNES game, or have what's the Mega CD like, or so it allowed me to sample all of these things without having to buy them really.
I always wondered what it was like behind the scenes at Dixon's. Was there a nice staff room? Was there much there, or was there just nothing?
No, we had a nice staff room. However, if you stayed in the staff room for your lunchtime and the shop got busy, you would often be, knock at the door or
Right.
tannoy going, all available till staff. So you'd have to kind of interrupt your lunch. So you would either have to go out for lunch to make sure you weren't anywhere where they could get hold of you,
Yeah.
or should I admit to this? Play on your Scion 3 in the toilet.
With no Wi-Fi, so you just
With no Wi-Fi.
using what's on there.
It was just, a card game or something like that. So you'd make sure you were somewhere else. But yeah, do you know what? It was well organised behind the scenes. We were the Swindon 49ers. The stockroom, we had a stockroom guy. He kept all the stockroom tidy, and everything's was. It always reminded me a bit like the scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's going down with all the piles of stuff, because you'd have TVs piled up, or do you remember the Sonic pack that came in almost like a pizza box?
Yeah.
We would have those sort of from the floor, that sort of high. You'd be, almost throwing those out. They were
Some questions
$14.99.
from chat on your Dixon's days.
Mhm.
Felix says I did 15 long years with Dixon's. Never in store though, can't stand people. I was in charge of denying people repairs under warranties.
Oh, so what was that called? That was Mastercare?
Mastercare, yeah, I remember that. Dave asks, did you get discounts, staff discount?
You did. There were two things you got. So there was a 10% that you got off. So that did help a bit. You would obviously, when new stuff came in, you could kind of go put that aside. So you'd often get, first dibs on new stuff that came out. If you
When
wanted
a new
it.
console came out, you wouldn't miss out.
You would miss out.
Yeah.
No, not like these huge queues go around the corner now. You'd go, oh, look, there's a new Mega Drive. Put that aside.
Yeah. Adam asks, how many times a day did someone do the old 10 print below 20 go to 10? Or, you know, there were probably ruder variants of that.
Yeah, well, one of the things, thankfully not too often, but obviously when everything went PC, so I worked for Dixon Stores Group, as it was, I think it's still called. I think it's from 89 as a Saturday lad. Then I went full time, and in about 92ish, I think, and I was there till 94, and then 95 I went to work in PC World in Bristol, so same company, but I wasn't a very good salesperson, because if you came in, I would chat to you, I'd find out what you wanted to do, and I would try and find the right thing for you, and I wouldn't put you under the high pressure, and you wouldn't always buy it then and there. The other thing I was quite good at was I was quite good at the computers, so I'd have other people from around the store come onto my patch, sell stuff, and then if their customers came back and said, "Oh, I've got this problem," they go, "Oh, Keith, come here a second. Can you give some advice on this?" And you'd be chatting to the customer, and they'd be doing this. And then you'd look around, and they were gone. So you were then there chatting to this person, trying to help out and sort their problem out, whilst they were off to the next person selling. And I don't know if it's different anymore. So if anybody worked,
Dixon's management intervened.
oh, are we back?
I'm not seeing anything.
Are we back? So all these people
Back,
using
yeah.
we're back.
Amazing vanishing Keith.
Not sure what happened there. It just, it didn't happen last week. Strange.
Anyway, where were you?
Where were we? Where had I rambled on to?
I can't remember. I wasn't listening.
No. No. Well, chat.
Christmas incentives.
No. You're in the room. You didn't. I didn't stop for you guys. I didn't just go. So, chat, who are the important ones here, how far had I rambled on to?
Philip's not back yet.
So, any more Dixon's questions in the chat? This is turning into a Dixon's AMA.
Yeah, wow. Inside, they're obviously not called Dixon's on the high street anymore, they are Curry's PC World.
I was a proper old man. I went telly shopping the other day. I went to Curry's PC World, and I left the store because I got annoyed because none of the staff approached me to offer to help me. Oh, wouldn't have happened back in my day.
See, yeah, and that's an interesting point, because you want service when you want it, but you don't want to be hassled.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, one of the things we always had a problem with was going up to somebody and, asking that age-old question, is there anything I can help you with? But you couldn't really ask that, because that's a yes or a no question, closed question, and in sales you've got to ask questions like, oh, it's a really nice, that's a closed question as well. I wasn't a very good salesperson. Which model are you looking for?
Yeah.
You couldn't really say yes or no. It kind of invited a.
Have you found what you're looking for?
Well, no, that's a yes. It's very easy to ask a closed question, which gives a customer the ability to say no. And what you want is to kind of get into a conversation first.
I did do my best effort of, looking like I needed help.
Yeah, and that is annoying. If you looking around, you're like, I need help.
Yeah.
I want to buy this, and they're just wandering around. Mrs. TDO's lost it, which means somebody said something in chat.
Velociraptor says Curry's PC World, Carphone Warehouse, Rumbelows, Woolworths, Marathon, Opal Fruits.
That's what it's called now.
Wait a minute, is this your guess at my employment history, or
it's known
or
as
just
now.
what they're called
No,
now?
it was Dixon's, now it's Carphone Warehouse, or
Yeah.
PC Curry's Dixon's Carphone
Carphone
Warehouse.
Warehouse, yeah.
And if Russell was working there, he would go with just saying, "Why are you here? Why are you here?"
What are you doing here?
You're
Who
making the
invited
carpet
you?
dirty.
Actually, the thing I was going to let one of the little secrets out, and I'm curious as to know if they still do it. So at Christmas you'd get manufacturers trying to incentivize you as a salesperson to sell their thing over somebody else. So it might be
Sure.
Sega to try and incentivize you to sell the Mega Drive over the Nintendo. I'm not saying they did, that's an example. But and there were quite a few of these around the store, and then because it's Christmas, what we would do is put one of those little Christmas present rosettes on those things. So it looked like a bit of Christmas decoration, but we'd know that one would give us an extra £5 in our
That's
pay
where the
packet.
commission was.
Yes, you'd get an extra £5. So, and if you sold, 10 of those instead of that, you'd get an extra 50 quid. Push towards something that looks like it's got a little Christmas tag on it or something, they might still be doing that same thing, that same trick. I tried to ignore those, of course. I always sold the customer what they needed.
It really says the same.
Yeah, it's tricky. Right, on the bottom of this one we've got some blue tack, white tack stuff. I'm going to get that off. I think that's been used. Although I'm trying to price up a new editing PC because mine is really, really old. And I was really surprised the other day when PC World came up as like the cheapest suggestion out of Amazon and
This
everybody.
was for a complete PC or component.
It was component.
Okay.
I think it's kind of. Maybe I just chose the only graphics that they have an exclusive thing on.
Thank you, Biaps, for the birthday wishes.
You've been happy about turning 40? Nonplussed?
Didn't really think too much about it until the day. I was like, oh, yeah, it is quite old, isn't it? But no, I'm fine about it. I've had several midlife crises already in my life, so I think we're good.
You're good. What was it? Bulldog. Is it Bulldog, the rapper? 40's the new Pitbull.
Bulldog.
Okay,
That's
that's how cool I am. Yeah.
You know that
Where's
rapper?
my flat cap?
You know that rapper Bulldog?
Pitbull. Okay, that's embarrassing. Yes, that rapper. Pitbull.
I feel old, but I'll never be as old as Keith.
Yeah, no, exactly. I make people feel good about themselves. Anyway, what did Pitbull say? 40's the new 30.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said. 40's the new 30.
Wish Pillock good luck with his painting.
Oh, what are you painting?
Well, it's a magnolia emulsion. Apparently it doesn't mix well with keyboards.
Oh.
He's going to have something in the background.
That's something that I notice sometimes when I get computers donated. Do you notice this flecks of paint? Perhaps from people painting their rooms and not covering up their computers.
Yeah, the odd time I've noticed some little flecks of paint. I haven't noticed it too much at the moment. But,
Controller Reese says, beautiful job on that C16.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to show them a bit closer on the camera? Did they get a good look?
I don't know.
It did come up really nicely, actually. It's got a good sheen to it.
This is why I really like any computer that is done with either, dark anthracite kind of colours, because they look, once you get nice clean on them, they come up really well. They don't need retro brighting.
It does look like new, it really does, yeah.
Yeah,
and the grey keys as well, they look yellow, so that's nice.
And if I'd have brought in some plastic finisher, that would get, that would make it even nicer. But yeah, it's a nice computer.
Probably Mike wants to know if he can pop over with his ZX Spectrum and Atari VCS for you to clean. It's like when you go out in your driveway and wash your car, isn't it? And all the neighbours say, "Oh, were you there? Did you just do mine?" You're going to start getting that for computers.
I know. Oh, maybe there's a new business angle. You cut like a drive-through, little coffee area.
Yeah.
You go in, you place your computer down, you go and have a coffee, and they give it a full valet. Me, Neil, and about 10 others all.
Don't rip me into this. I'll make the coffees.
a bit of coffee.
Beep says Amstrads never seem to come up that good. Maybe because of the smooth finish. I'm assuming you mean CPCs.
Well, yeah. Which Amstrad do you mean? Because
Yeah, there is. I mean, the CPC does. There's no texture to the finish. It is a very smooth finish.
it's subtle texture.
You know?
Well, the 472, that came out lovely.
Oh, you're just showing off now.
Just
with
showing
your
off. I like
472.
to hear. Have you got a 472?
I haven't.
Oh, oh
I
dear.
hear they're fake. They're not real.
I've got something else I know you definitely want to.
Oh, what have you got?
Wow. What do you think, Stream? Should I ask Neil to collaborate on something that I know he's desperately wanting to collaborate on?
Oh.
Little car dashboard spray
Is it one of
cleaner for
these?
the
Should I keep it to myself
Is it
for
one of
my
these?
channel? I have got one.
Oh, it's
It's
not
the
one of
museums. It's the museums one. Neil's pointing at a Sam Coupe at the moment, which.
We've left that cabinet locked, haven't we, just in case?
No, it is unlocked. No, unfortunately, it is unlocked. So it'd be like, yeah, is that a Sam Coupe in your pocket? Or you just.
You tell me what you've got to collaborate with, and I might have something that you can collaborate with me.
Ooh. Right. So you talked about it on your stream briefly. What would you really, really like to be looking at? It's been quite a disappointment.
There's been quite a disappointment.
No, well, not a disappointment that you've done, but a disappointment that you haven't been able to do it yet.
Amiga 3000, CDTV. You said the Sam Coupe.
You're on the right track with the Amigas.
With the Amigas, so 1000.
Don't think model.
Don't think model.
Think.
Might have lost
Ian
the
and me.
stream again.
Oh no.
We've got a couple of comments.
Are we here and gone? Let's have a look.
Broke again.
What's going
Fine
on?
here.
We've still got camera.
Stream's good for me. I think it was just one person.
No. Okay.
Oh, I'm back.
Toaster.
Yeah.
Video toaster. You got a video toaster? Nice. So you've got an NTSC Amiga, or are you going to convert your, what is it, a 2000 model or a 4000 toaster?
2000.
2000 toaster. So, that could be fun. I guess if you've got a video camera or something you could plug into it, then I could help you to film.
I've got standards converters.
I could be your assistant.
I've got standards converters and all sorts.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
With that, it might need some of your help with some of the bits and bobs because. So for stream, I've got a video toaster. I've got my hands on a video toaster now. With it was in a very beat up Amiga 2000. It's an NTSC Amiga 2000. So.
Because there was never a PAL video toaster, was there?
There was never a PAL video toaster. No. They talked about it. They never made one. And the video toaster mainly has a place in my heart, not because of it, but it obviously came with Lightwave, which was the 3D editing software. And for a lot of people, video toaster was just a dongle to use Lightwave until they brought out the separate Lightwave. And of course, something else that's dear to my heart was Babylon 5, and that, that was all done on Lightwave. Not that Neil would know because he doesn't watch Babylon 5.
I do. You got me the DVD.
Have you watched any?
I haven't yet,
Oh,
but I'm
yeah.
going to. Now I've got my new telly. I did get a telly. My trip to PC World, I got it online. And Lily's got her DVD player set up now, so I can watch it.
So I've given Neil the first season of Babylon 5, which, like a lot of TV series, you have to kind of invest a little bit of time in. It gets a bit, you've got to give it time to get going. And there's things that happen in the storyline that won't pay off for 2 or 3 series in the future, because it was one of those series that pretty much invented the 5-year story arc that everybody else has since. I mean, you wouldn't watch a series now without some multi-series arc.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much where it started. Before then, people were TV people thought, well, if you couldn't remember past the end of one episode to the next,
Yeah.
hit that Star Trek reset button. But
Beep says, Neil and Keith, what are your best 8-bit computers? Has to be one choice.
now are we looking the best or our favourite? Because best, I think, would be different to favourite. I think. So obviously the most favourite would be the one I had, which was Amstrad.
Yeah, the Amstrad.
Although my father, bless him, he told me a few years back that when he bought our CPC, so I didn't know he was buying it. The first I knew was when the covers were lifted off of the dining room table and there it all was all set up. And that's the 464 with the tape drive, and then a couple of years later I then got the floppy drive and stuff like that. That a couple, 2-3 years ago, he told me that when they, he'd gone in and picked it up from Comet and taken it home, he'd unboxed it and they'd given him the wrong one. They'd given him the disk drive one. And he went back and swapped it.
Oh no! He's going to have a downgrade.
Obviously, my jaw was like, you did what? Now, whether that was a 664, because we got ours in around about, I think it was about September 85. We got ours somewhere around that. I remember it was just before we started secondary school. I think the way he sold it to Mum was that we would use it because it came with a DMP. Well, he got it with the DMP 1000 printer, which was terrible, so we had that swapped to the 2000. This was for doing our homework on. Mum lost it when one of the first things I did was, of course, go straight for one of the games in the Ansoft pack, Rolling on the Ropes or something. So, but yeah, we could have had the disk drive version, but that might have been a 6128. That would have been great. Or a 664 to have now would be amazing. So, yeah, that's my favourite. What's your favourite, Neil?
For the same reasons, the 464 because it was my machine. But so I agree with what Beeps has said in the chat there. I would never argue that the CPC 464 is better than the Commodore 64. The Commodore 64 is just it's a better machine.
Depends on what you were wanting to do. For playing games, 64.
Yeah.
Hardware scrolling, sprites, the SID chip music. It's better on all of those accounts. Does it have an 80-column mode though? I don't think it did it? Because wasn't that what the 128 gave you?
You could switch modes, couldn't you, in the 128?
Because that was one thing the CPC was good at, which was you got a decent colour monitor. It wasn't, it's not fantastic, but for the resolutions back then, it was a decent colour monitor. You got, they did a matching printer. You could get the whole and be playing games and doing your homework and so I think as an all-round, I think Amstrad got it right. But like with many things, you compromise, don't you?
There's no hardware support for an 80-column within the C64.
No.
You can kind of fudge it in bitmap mode.
So I never saw anybody doing their homework, for example, on a 64. It was a.
But yeah, I was all about the games.
Well,
I was all about the games.
Hence the reason why I had a romantic robot on my.
Yes. Starlight says 8-bit Commodores are overrated. I remember when I first used a Commodore 64 for gaming, I was blown away by just how smooth everything moved with the hardware sprite support and everything. It just was clearly a better machine for games. So I wouldn't call that overrated.
Yeah, I guess it's, everything had a personality. They all had their ups and downs. We could argue about them in the playground. We could, you know, I can do this, yeah, but I can do that. Mine's better than yours. Whereas most consoles and computers now, they pretty much, apart from arguing at quite who gets the higher frames per second, they're all pretty much of a muchness, would you say?
I'm sure there's plenty of argument. I don't have kids myself, so I don't know what they're arguing about in the playground, but I imagine Xbox versus PlayStation is as fierce an argument as Amstrad Spectrum ever was.
I think it's all down to exclusive software now.
Yeah.
Mine comes with, which of course, Microsoft are going on a buying spree at the moment, aren't they?
Oh, what then?
They've bought, but how do you pronounce that name?
Oh,
Yeah,
Cool.
the ones that make Doom and all the rest of them, yeah. They've bought that now, haven't they? Whether that will become exclusive Xbox?
That goes all the way back to when they bought Bungie and took Halo away from the Mac, because that was going to be a Mac game.
But the question
They
is...
stuck it on the Xbox, the original Xbox. Yeah.
Exactly, but the question is, does that mean it's not about the consoles anymore? Is this gearing up for the streaming online?
Yeah. Yeah, thin client gaming is.
Yes.
I think that will be the next generation.
Where we don't own the cassettes, you know, we don't own the discs, we just rent our games.
And also, I think it has to happen because of all these huge updates that people have to download. You know, installing games on a console just removes everything a consoles ever used to be about. Slamming a cartridge in and immediately gaming. It's completely a P experience when you have to do 100 gig install and then a 16 gig update. When you go to thin client computing, all of that is gone. You'll be back in a position where you just press a button and you're in the game again.
The other thing is, even, I mean, your experience buying Flight Sim 2020 on DVD. How many DVDs was it?
10 DVDs.
Right, 10 DVDs. Probably dual layer as well, and double-sided, I don't know. And that's for what? Probably quite a buggy version of the game.
Well, as soon as it was installed, there was a 16 gig update. Yeah.
So even when people argue, I'd rather go out and buy it because then I own it, you're kind of owning an inferior version, a half-finished inferior version,
Yeah.
because everybody's rushing to get theirs out.
And there's talk about Mark Central says, yeah, but latency will not be so good on things like computing. It's I've just had fibre to the home installed in my street. It's not gone active yet, but it's rolling out. We are going to have much better connections, and the latency will be a lot better. It's not ready yet. I think the next generation again, it will be ready. And it's not something I want to happen. I'm not, I love a big box game and physical games. I just don't see any alternative. I just think that's the way it's going.
Yeah, and I've been playing a bit of Antstream. If you watch Trista Bytes' stream, she does a regular Antstream review and play and stuff, and I was lucky enough to be gifted a sub to Antstream. So I thought I'll have a look and have a play, and it's got all the old Amstrad, Amiga games and all those. Not every game, but you can go on there, play Speedball 2 or something like that, and they gamified these old games. So although I could play them on emulation, they then gamified them and put challenges around them and stuff like that. And the only thing I've really noticed is because of the MPEG encoding, it spoils some of the slick scrolling, some of the patterns in the background make strange shimmering colours. But generally, it's playable, and it maybe my reactions are slowing, but they.
Do you want another drink?
I would love a cup of coffee, please. Thank you very much.
Drink, Neil?
Neil, cup of coffee.
I'm okay with my soft drink, thank you.
Chat, cup of coffee.
Who wants coffee? Winsome Hack says, modern computing isn't boring, it's never been more interesting than Raspberry Pi, and all the variants as well as the PC. Games have swollen in budgets, which has made them samey though, due to risk. So that's another side of the argument, is the use of the common game engine.
I would totally agree about all the stuff about the Pi opened up and what Pi, the other one, Atmel? No. What's the other? There's obviously quite a few small cheap processors.
Yeah, system on a chip.
Yeah, and I watched an episode of Adam Savage's Tested the other day, where he did a Zoom call with a couple of the effects engineers on The Mandalorian, because they've used model shots, so not computer generated, they've actually used some model shots, and they used motion tracking and the rest, but that always costs more. So he was able to do that on a budget using all of these modern system on a chips, cheap things that you and I can buy. And it's just opened up that now to be able to do a lot of things that used to be incredibly expensive. The amount people can do on a budget. So, can we say democratizing technology?
I mean, that goes right down to what we do with our video editing. We couldn't have dreamed of putting out some of the content we do 15 or 20 years ago. I know, yes, there was video editing software out there.
Yeah,
but,
so I was...
You know, with the speed that we do it in now.
I don't know when you started video editing, but I started video editing properly non-linear. I'd had a go at some linear editing with Amigas and Genlocks before this, but it was 1995, and I got hold of an MPEG card. It was when I worked at PC World, and they were selling some rebadged Motion JPEG, not MPEG, Motion JPEG cards, and that would have been at sort of 384 resolution, 240, I think, on Windows 3.1.1, right, using Premiere, what was it, Premiere 4, something like that. And it was a struggle just to get everything fine-tuned, that as you played it back, you'd be watching it and one or two things would happen. Either you'd get a stutter, or the audio, because the audio was usually handled by your sound hardware. So in the computer, that it kind of took two different routes, and what would happen is that it would slowly drift. So I unfortunately had to do some wedding videos, and you'd get to the end and
Is this where you start bringing things like time code correctors into the mix and things like that?
I think that was out of my market.
Yeah.
That's, you know, this was the beginning of the consumer age of non-linear editing for the home. So trying to get 3.1.1 to just do it. It was like, it was painful. Very, very painful. Slightly improved by the Miro DC30 Plus that I got, where the sound and everything was done on board. That usually behaved itself and allowed full power resolution.
I remember when I first used a Firewire, a camcorder with Firewire on it. That was great for editing. It was a real
Yeah, I think
time
that.
saver.
Yeah, and I think that allowed, because all the audio and everything all went down digitally. I think that helped a lot. But yeah, old analog motion JPEG, that was painful work. Right, so I have now finished cleaning the Commodore Plus 4. And what do we have to say about this one? I knew nobody with one of these. 1984, the first home computer with built-in software. The name stood for the word processor, spreadsheet, database, and graphing programs that were included. Hence the 4. Plus 4. So, saw some success in Europe, but was a failure in the United States. There we go.
1984 with, what's it got? A 7501 or an 8501 CPU at 1.76 megahertz and 64k RAM, 64k ROM. For some reason I thought that had a lot less RAM.
So that's actually
That's
faster.
64k.
That's one of the faster clock speed than the...
Yeah, it's only a 1 megahertz on the 64, isn't it?
Hopefully this is a very quick clean. Auric 1. And obviously we covered this on your channel, didn't we?
Oh yes.
This is the 48k model. Quite like the look of the Auric. Cute. Should try and not spill over the top. If anybody new's joined the stream, we are streaming from the Museum of Computing. Very low tech at the moment, no fancy graphics because I'm just doing it off my phone. So if the sound's not brilliant, that will improve in future. You can go to www.museumofcomputing.org.uk and they've got a donate button. So if you want to help out a museum in these troubling times, because we have no visitors, then by all means go there. Every little helps. I'm one of the volunteers. I'm Keith from the Digital Orphanage, and we have a special guest star. Hello. Oh, he loves being special. Everybody knows Neil. Everybody knows Neil. And I'm one of the volunteers, as well as doing my own little new small YouTube channel. I'm a volunteer here.
A YouTube channel which you're watching now, so make sure you press subscribe.
Yes, I'm rubbish at doing those things. Where is it? Somewhere down there.
Smash that like button.
Yeah,
All
do all those
Ring
things.
that bell.
This YouTube channel's really helped me to bring together, meet some fantastic people. I've
And
always
me.
liked, and Neil, do some, and give a reason for doing videos
Yeah.
as well. I like video editing, I like creating things and stuff, and it just gives something to coalesce around. Yeah.
It's like anything, isn't it? Like coding, music making, whatever. If you haven't got that purpose that you're aiming for, it's very difficult to find focus and create something. So I find having the objective of having to make a video now once a week, because it's my job, really focuses you in on things. But it's still at a point where I still enjoy it very much. It's not too much pressure.
Yeah.
And you've got quite a good focus now on putting content out for your channel. You can push quite hard to get stuff out regularly, don't you?
Yes. My limiting factor at the moment, twofold: procrastination. I overthink things, so it takes me a long time to get around to doing anything. And my editing PC is just it's doing my head in. I made the switch to 4K, and I have to edit in proxy modes, and then switch to 4K at the very last moment to render everything out. But it just makes your workflow a lot harder than it needs to be. Mainly because I procrastinate about buying a new computer and choosing which one. So, yeah.
We've got a museum question from Simon. He says, do all the computers work? Might be worth doing a bit of history and demonstration on each one on a regular basis. Could be an idea for a series.
We know the dragon
We've
works.
kind of talked about something like this,
Yeah,
haven't we?
we have done show and tells together as a collaboration here in the past. Obviously, the current situation means it's very difficult for us to stand next to each other and poke around in a computer. But I think it's certainly something that can happen in the future, with or without me.
I've always thought about. See, Mrs. TDO is laughing again. What are you finding?
Something else about eating enough fibre.
Random?
Well, it's just, if you eat enough fibre, you won't have to push hard to get stuff out regularly. And someone thought you were going to say that I was preventing you from doing stuff.
No, Mrs. TDO doesn't. You have to balance everything. I have a full-time job. I have things that I need to do in the house, like everyone. Who's it? Was it Pillet that had to go off and paint?
Yes.
Yeah. So we all have our things that we have to do for life in general. So I'm very envious of Neil getting to do things full time, but equally, I'm not envious of the task that you have to keep that. In that, if I go, do you know what? I'm bored now. I can just stop.
How could you ever be bored of all this?
Well, that's it. So it's. How did you find making that transition?
I didn't find it difficult. I've never been short on ideas, and people have always been generous enough to donate so many systems that there's always new ideas coming through the door. So I'm sure it will happen, but I haven't had that writer's block moment yet. And I think if I do, that's going to be a very difficult time. But then you just share it with your patrons and your community and say, this is what I'm going through right now, and that becomes the content in itself. So I didn't find, and the transition, it wasn't like, oh my god, I'm now a YouTuber. It was a gradual thing as the channel grew. I don't remember it being terrifying or anything like that.
Do you ever find that having to be consistent quantity hems you in on trying new ideas?
Sometimes, yeah. I sometimes worry about the audience. When I do like Trash to Treasure series, they have to be four-parters,
Yeah.
because I can only do so much in a week, and if you want to keep the YouTube algorithm happy, you've got to keep stuff coming out weekly. I would love to be able to say, right, see you in 3 weeks, guys, or 4 weeks. I'm going to do a 2-hour-long Trash to Treasure epic.
Yeah.
Edit it, release it as a feature film, if you like, but it's just not an option if you want to keep new people coming and subscribing. Yeah.
So it's that getting. I suppose you're at that point now where to grow further. You're then considering almost like a Linus Tech Tips. Start bringing in editors and allowing you to be on camera, but
Yeah. There are ideas like that flying around. Not quite that far, because I'm not ready to give away the creative control of the editing at the moment, because I like the way that I edit things. I don't ready to give that to someone else, but there is talk of getting other people involved in ways that I won't ruin the surprise of.
Ooh.
It's very dependent on finding a new cave, and you'll find out all about that in next week's video. So,
I'm looking forward to that.
but yeah, I would love to go down that route. Yeah.
I haven't had any prior, really any prior. I don't know what's coming next week.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Right, what are we at now? We are at, no, that's not that one. Oh yeah. Ah, right. Yes.
Yeah, Chris, you're right. Having a second channel is a fun place to try alternative ideas. A lot of YouTubers do that now. They have a second channel.
Yeah.
I do live stuff on there because I always worry about getting copyright strikes when I'm doing live stuff, because I take viewers' submissions and I never know what their videos are going to contain. So if they've included a bit of music that's copywritten, then I get stressed. So I do that on the same channel.
You're like, oh, it's another Reese video. Reese
Yeah.
video. What's
You
he
can't
put
trust
in?
Reese.
What's he put in there this week?
Yeah.
Reese, how do you do? Is he Reese still on the channel?
He is, yeah.
You're right. How do you get time to do any of your own stuff if you're doing stuff for Neil all the time? Right. Okay. What have we got now? We got so the Auric one. I've just given a freshen up. You saw it at the beginning. Developed as a competition to the ZX Spectrum, and with that kind of dead flesh keyboard, you kind of got that feel. It was available with 16 or 48K memory. This one's the 48K. And with program and a programmable sound chip and 2 graphics modes, sold very well in the 80s, particularly in France. Which is why when we cut it on Neil's channel, we believe that's possibly why the next machine, where they repackaged it as the Atmos, and we pretty much said it was the same computer,
Same
wasn't it?
thing. Even had the same revision board inside. I think the board even said Auric 1 inside when we opened it up.
And they've just replaced the top, changed the colour scheme, and I think made it quite, dare I say, French looking? Because there was a French computer you had, a Minitel, what was it?
And Alice.
Yeah,
That
that was
Thompson.
more
Thompson.
vibrant. You got that kind of almost like lipstick red.
Oh, that was the Alice. Yeah.
Yes. So I think there was a certain market they were probably aiming for there.
Felix getting Larry. He says they rebadged it, you fool, in capitals.
Capitals, yeah.
If I was a mod, Pellet, you'd be in trouble.
Who's the fool? Me? I'm always the fool.
Speaking of fools, what does BA stand for in BA Baracus? This was a question that came up in the family quiz yesterday.
You know, when you ask that, you think, oh, I know that, and then you go, actually, do
exactly. And chat, what does BA stand
I
for?
want to say Bartholomew Alexander, but it's the sort of thing you would just have the initials.
My
of.
dad's answer British Airways.
British Airways Baracus. Yeah,
Which
works.
would be quite ironic, because he doesn't like getting on planes. Well, that is special milk.
Yeah, there's two. Adam and Chris have got it in the chat, and Ches.
What was it?
It's bad attitude.
Ah, so it wasn't his real name, it was just...
bad attitude for ruckus.
Who's your favourite character in the meeting?
Oh, he's grovelling for forgiveness. So.
It was probably Hannibal. He was the cool leader. Got to smoke a fat cigar, and he had the best catchphrase. I love it when I'm playing everything together.
My favourite would have been Face.
Face.
The
ladies' man.
Yeah, and I always liked it in the wasn't it in the beginning, the credits? I can't remember which episode it was. There's a centurion, a Battlestar Galactica centurion that walks by, and he does that kind of fourth wall break where he goes. You know.
He always got to wear lots of disguises and go undercover, didn't he?
Yeah, Murdoch was always quite fun, and BA, you know, he always got the bad guys, didn't he? The comic, I often thought BA wasn't. He was always almost like put there as the strong man in the comic. You know, the full guy. You know, the straight guy. But,
So what we've done? We've done the Commodores. You're on the second Auric.
yeah, do we leave the Aquarius until last?
Dirty one.
The
Dirty
dirty
Aquarius.
Aquarius. And that just looks as good as it did when it came out, except for the box, because I haven't done that.
Why is one guy doing the work and the other is just sitting watching?
Because Neil offered, I will give him that, he did offer to clean, but we thought with the social distancing all gathered around one table wouldn't work very well. We'd have to mask up and it just wouldn't work. Plus, it's
We don't want
Neil-
to kill anyone.
No,
Basically.
yeah, and plus it's Neil's birthday weekend, so you know you can't sit back. You forgot your pipe.
I didn't bring my pipe, no.
I do like your new Twitter picture. I don't know, Joe.
Mask and pipe.
Yeah. If you've seen it, is that a mask? A proper
Yes,
mask.
it
That's
is a
not
proper
somebody.
mask.
Lily made that for you.
No, Mark Devlin, I think it was, sent it
Ah.
in to me, yeah.
So Neil's got a new RMC branded mask, and you're using it with a pipe, which is
Winsome Hack says that's not perspective, Neil really is that small. It's true. I'm 4'5" in real life.
look how big he is compared to an orange. There we go.
Happy birthday, Jamie. It was his this weekend.
Lord birthday's in October, I think. Why is that?
Now, my line of work, everybody's birthday's in December.
So wait a minute.
About half the
No,
ladder.
October, so it's 10. Count back 9 months. Middle of winter, dark days.
No.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Huh?
Thanks for
For
that.
that. People were. They didn't have home computers back then. Yes, because I also share October as a birthday. So mine's coming up soon.
And is it?
No.
He does know what it
I
is.
do know. This is the security side of me goes. She doesn't give out your date of birth. But, it was.
Soon.
Roughly.
It's the 60th. It's the 16th
Okay.
of 16th of October. And funny enough, that was pretty much the time. I think it was either then or a couple of days later. I pushed out my first proper video for this channel. So that's 2 years ago I started this channel. That's how quickly it goes. And
Yeah,
I haven't gone full out. I mean, I only started my first live stream like last week. It's been a very gentle kind of doing things at my pace when I felt like it. Yeah.
Ben Rattigan would like to know what cleaning products you were using.
Today, purely deionized water, so effectively pure water, and a little bit of isopropanol alcohol. And we're talking about less than 5%, just to give it a little bit of a bite, and it also allows it to sort of dry off a bit easier. And that's it, because if it requires something more than that, I'm going to have to look very carefully at what I use. So this isn't a Trash to Treasures trademark or anything like that. This
Pending.
is pending. Oh, quick, get in there now with your objections. Do we get to object?
There probably will be a period when you can, yeah.
Anybody come at you with prior art? No, you were the first, weren't you?
I've seen it used in the past, but you know, when you're trademarking stuff, it's all about context, isn't it? You can use the same name if you're not seen to be passing off as someone else. You know?
No, I mean, since you've started them, I've seen the odd one that kind of plays around with the words.
Yeah.
You know, trash or treasure, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, I hope it all comes through. Right, we have finished the Auric Atmos 48K, which is the Atmos was an Auric one, there we go, with an improved keyboard, a ROM that had been debugged, which you could get for your Auric one, and a fantastic colour scheme. I would agree. It came in two versions, one with 16K and one with 48K. So a rebadged, reboxed Auric one. Oh, what are we on to now? We are on to the Acorn Atom, which I must have been asleep when this one came out, but I was only really aware of the Atom when the Micromen,
The movie.
the program came out. So that was interesting. I was aware of the BBC Model A and B and that because I grew up with those in primary school when we used to have one computer on a trolley and that was it, and that was wheeled around the whole school. I mean, you're obviously a little bit younger than me.
Yeah, we had one BBC Micro per year, and there was only one class per year. Anyway, it was quite a small school that I went to.
Was that a master? Was that a BBC Model B or a master?
So it was a Model B.
Yeah.
That's what we had in every classroom there. The Atom, I'll give you some wiki facts. 1980 released.
Uh-huh.
£120 in kit form, 170 assembled. Sold it until 83. Is that right? Does it say 1980?
Let's just check. So 1980, yes.
2K RAM, only 2K of RAM, 8K ROM. So that was competing with your Z80, wasn't it? The 2K of RAM. And that's the only thing it was competing with, but with a much nicer keyboard.
Definitely.
Expandable to 12K of RAM.
But I guess, like anything, you get a mechanical keyboard like this, that puts the price up. I mean, that's one thing Clive got was just cheap. But I think that also held him back because I think when they were looking at, choosing a computer that would stand up to us school kids, you wouldn't pick a ZX81, would you? Or ZX80. Or even a Spectrum, really, would you? I wouldn't expect a Spectrum to hold up to.
In a school, no.
No.
If the Spectrum was ever to have won that whole computer literacy project to become the standard computer for that, it would have had to be rehoused into a different case. It would have had to have had a decent keyboard kids could bash. I could see it getting away with the Atmos case. It might work like that. Do you think?
Yeah.
That would withstand some abuse.
I think where the BBC really helped though was with the Econet network.
Yes.
We, when I went to secondary school, we had an Econet network with a central hard disk, Winchester disk, and it could, you could have, users and passwords and the other thing they had was that ability for the teacher to sit at their terminal and cycle through everybody else's screen on the classroom. So if you were in class and you sort of broken out and you slipped in your whatever game a couple of times, I'd be and then your screen would be like
Yeah.
yeah, they definitely had the school market sewn up there.
Yeah, quite a few people in the chat had BBCs in their schools.
They were robust. They had all that additional things as well. That I think got them into university, so that you could connect them to motors and scientific instruments. Yeah,
Winston Axe had, he started secondary school when they had an old teletype that could talk to a university mainframe. And 2 pets in a small room. Costello had TRS-80s. He's over in Holland. Dave has his school's Winchester in his garage. Assuming he means the hard drive and not the rifle.
yeah. I've got a friend who came over last year now because he dug out his. He used to run a bulletin board off his old BBC Master.
Okay.
From his home, dial in and stuff, and he wanted to try and get the software off it. So we managed to. There's some software for the Beeb that allows you to connect it to a PC. You effectively inject the software down the serial lead into the Beeb, so you don't even have to load it off a floppy or anything. And then we're able to drag all the software back off his bulletin board, and we've since managed to get it working off a bulletin board emulator. So it's one of those things. At some point, I would love to get him on the channel and talk about it, because running a bulletin board is something I always looked at, but I never did.
Yeah.
How people made it work in this country with the cost of the phone calls is beyond me.
Yes, I think that there was an element of freaking involved, wasn't there?
He doesn't.
Although if you're running the bulletin board, people are dialing into you. You're not dialing out to them. So
yeah, but you've still got to dial into all the other bulletin
suppose you've
boards
got
to
to-
get the latest software that everybody's.
unless it's being posted to you.
Yeah,
If you want
and
to be ahead of the curve, you've got to get it. You've got to dial up there and then on the zero day releases. That's what you want, isn't it?
and I'd love to have a look at the bulletin board software, what he's got, because it's got people that have saved stuff onto there, and it's under folders like Amiga and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see what is there.
I'm going to powder my nose.
Yes,
I'll be back.
sure.
Is it all at lockdown there?
Yes,
Mhm.
Jane might switch the lights on.
Right, what do we want to talk about Neil whilst he's gone? Mr. DDO's gone, so I have no idea what anybody's saying there. So I will just repeat, I am here at the Museum of Computing in Swindon, and we're doing an 8-bit clean. So we've got our cabinet full of 8-bit computers that last week I started with the Sinclair cabinet, and I've moved on to this week the Commodore and Acorn cabinet with some Oryx in there as well. And this is purely to give everything a nice bit of spruce up, because the previous week I fitted all brand new RGB lighting to the cabinet, so we can have it white normally, so that all the computers look their proper colours. But if you want a theme or like a stream now, we can change it. Last week we had purple, this week we've got blue, so it just gives a nice little, a little bit of an accent to the display. Right, Mr. TDO, what is chap up to?
Simon Barnes asks, I'd love to see the prices of various computers in the 80s. I had a Spectrum 48K, but don't remember looking at a BBC or a C64. Can't remember why.
Well, I think the problem with the BBC was, this was mine, what I thought, they were quite expensive, mainly because of all the mechanical and how sturdy they are, the mechanical keyboard, etc. So I believe at the time they were quite expensive. And I think even the Commodore 64 was quite expensive when it came out. It was effectively the Amiga of its time. Which is probably why most people either had a Spectrum or something like that, because it brought the price tag down. Blimey, how much was it now? I think it was something like either £80 or £100 for a Spectrum, I think, somewhere around there, which, it was a good amount of money in the 80s. but it was certainly a lot more affordable because you could use your own TV, etc. Whereas the people I knew that had a BBC, they tended to have the Cub monitor and the printers and everything. Yeah, dare I say, it tended to be the families that had maybe a bit more disposable income.
Schools probably got subsidised. Kit that
Yes, Neil's done more research into that educational thing side of it for the episodes he did, but I believe there was a government incentive, which is why although schools could go and buy other computers, I think they would be going off on their own thing. That was the whole importance of getting that school's contract with the government to be the official curriculum computer. So it sounds like we've obviously got people from other countries. So it'd be interesting to know, I mean, what happened in those countries? Did schools just go off and do their own? Did the government in those countries have an organised effort to say, go for this model? Or? Neil, your investigation that you did into the computer literacy campaign in the early 80s. So this was government subsidised, wasn't it, or not?
Yes, it was.
So if you went off piste, you'd be on your own as a school. You wouldn't get the same savings.
If you picked a BBC Micro, you got like a 50% discount. There were others on there, like there was the research machines computers were on the list, so you could get discounts on the RMs. The ZX Spectrum didn't make the list for whatever reason, I can't remember now. So yeah, it was heavily subsidised. That's what made it affordable for schools.
How much was the Spectrum at the time? I remember it being about £79 to £100.
It was cheap anyway, so a half-price BBC Micro was about the price of a Spectrum, but then you have the hardiness of the BBC Micro for the classroom, and of course all of the TV programmes and the literature and everything was geared towards the BBC Micro. So. I saw this on the way back up the stairs, and I thought Reese and a couple of others would be interested in it. There's nothing in it, unfortunately.
So
but
I know what was in here. So Neil's obviously seen this box as he comes up, because Neil's like, Lovejoy. Do you know what, I used to watch that. I used to quite enjoy Lovejoy.
Ian Mcshane.
Yes, and Ian Mcshane, he's done it for himself.
He's in that Neil Gaiman adaptation of what's the book called? I don't know. I can't remember what it's called now.
Well,
but he's like Satan.
Yeah, and of course he made that transition to
American Gods.
American Gods.
And of course he made that transition to America, and he was in that Western, wasn't he? I think it was
Westworld.
No, it wasn't Westworld. It was I forget what it called. Chap, do you remember when he transitioned to America and he was in some Western, quite popular one? I think it was a series rather than a
Someone
film.
suggesting Heartbeat, but lots of people are suggesting Deadwood.
Deadwood. I remember. Yeah, I think that was
Deadwood.
it. Yes.
Okay, I've not
And of
heard
course,
of that one.
and he's in the. We watched a film the other night, John Wick, the second chapter.
Yeah.
And of course, he's the hotel owner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's suddenly gone. Well, not suddenly. It was about 30 years ago that he was at that job. He's gone from being, your TV series, a recognisable face, to being a real A-list, really celebrity, hasn't he? He's done well for himself.
Reese does ask, I'm not sure why this would be of interest to me.
I just had you down, Reese, as a Lovejoy kind of a man.
Are you a Lovejoy kind of thing fan?
Yeah.
No. What was in here? So the museum had a very kind donation of the Vectrex a few months ago, and that's what the games were being stored in.
Oh, okay.
So they're currently in the cabinet, and at some point soon, because I've got my own Vectrex, and Neil kindly, he's got 40% of his Vectrex. I'm not sure what exactly, but
A donor Vectrex.
kindly gave me the very small bit that I was missing. But I've got a Vectrex with a whole bunch of games, and I've got the diagnostics cartridge, so you can get all your patterns to do all your. So it's, I do want to do that. I want to get that working properly. We bought that on our way to some guy in London on the way to a Muse concert, I believe. I've had that a couple of years now.
As you do.
Sorry, I've distracted
That's all right.
you with
Lovejoy.
Lovejoy.
There we go. There we go. There we go. So that was a very quick clean of an Acorn Atom. You can see the style of the BBC-B that was yet to come. Although they've lost that fake grill effect. I'm not a big fan of these, purely because they're a pain to clean. All they do is trap dirt.
Yeah.
So I can see why they.
behind me here.
It's not an air grill. There's no functional reason to have it. It's purely aesthetic, which looks great once it's clean, but it's just dust gets in there. So BBC-B, they went with an easier
Still a
to.
slight texture, but there's no grill or
No.
fake grill.
No. Right. Put that.
Don't worry if it takes time to tune your television sets. Some sets never give you a perfect picture. That's advice from the owl in the BBC Micro book.
Right. And then, now I had one friend with one of these, and that's the Acorn Electron. How were these sold? These were just UK, or were they sold wider?
I don't know that they went further than the UK, but let me.
1983, the Electron was produced as a cheaper alternative to the BBC Micro, which was very popular in schools. It was more limited by what it could do, with only one sound channel and no text. Also, there was no disk drive. Games could only be run from tape, despite not being ready for Christmas market in 90. Oh, got a typo here. It's in 92. It should be 82. It still became one of the best-selling computers of its time. So I know Trista Bites said she used to have one of these.
Yeah, they're nice little machines. I knew
had-
one kid who had one when I was younger. The CPU runs at 2 megahertz, but it slows down to 1 megahertz when accessing the RAM.
Is that because it shares with the graphics hardware?
Yeah. So that was sort of an oversight, but that was the thing that really held it back compared to its bigger brother, the BBC Micro. And they have found ways, like in recent years, around that, so that it can always run at full speed. They found hacks which would have made it, twice as fast back in the day in a pretty epic machine. But
Like all these things, that knowledge comes too late.
it did always feel like a bit of a crippled BBC Micro, didn't it?
This is the +1 expansion on the back, so the actual Electron ends here, and then this was one of the expansions. It was a +2, I think. So
Yeah,
different
there was
ones.
another expansion.
So they bolt on, screw on, so certainly no RAM pack wobble there, and that gives you a printer port, and I think that's the analog joystick port, and extra cartridge slots. I wasn't a fan of the Electron. Oh, this one's got. And again, a lot of manufacturers went for the texture, but the texture just. Oh. That finger juice now. But it is quite satisfying when they then clean up well.
What is this music? Sounds like an old TV show.
This is all YouTube music, so no
Okay.
copyright strikes here. And most of it is something I've probably used on one or more of my videos. Talking of music, what is people's view of music on YouTube videos? Because some people love it, some people hate it. I've tried all sorts of different ways of using music, or not using it. But I'm curious, what do people think? I think in our chat, we both made the same mistake to start with, which is we put the music too loud.
That's right.
Headphones on, sounds good, I'm editing to this.
And I think part of that is a confidence thing. You're just so unconfident about hearing your own voice in those early days that you overcompensate by putting more music on. I think that's a big part of it.
Do you find yourself, when you're watching just normal TV, almost dismantling it in your mind
Yes,
and going, how have they done
Have
that?
they done that? Can I do that?
Do I like that?
Yeah.
Do I like that? Do I want to do that? Yeah. Certainly I've changed from putting it on as a general background to doing it as an accent,
Yeah.
usually to fill a gap or
Reese in the chat had complaints about it and then complaints when he removed it. Yeah.
it,
I see it as I see it as a key component to the pacing of the video. It can help sort of drive the video along at the pace that you want it to, or slow the viewer down and relax them when you're doing a cleaning montage or there's something a bit exciting going on here. I think music is a really important part of that, especially when you're dealing with the topic of nostalgia and you're unlocking people's emotions and taking them back. And that's a really important part of that unlocking process, I think, is the music.
I guess the question though is whether the people listening share your taste in music.
Yes, yeah. You've got to be, you can't start using elevator music or whatever. If you have a seriously different taste in music to everyone, it's not going to work well for you, is it? Inoffensive, but not uncool. You've got to find that balance.
Yeah. But like you said, I mean, sometimes it's being brave and not using music. And almost
Hashtag brave.
hashtag brave, yeah. I kind of put it alongside when desktop publishing came out. You were suddenly able to use hundreds of fonts, loads of clip art, and people just threw it at it. And you ended up with stuff that was, 50 different fonts on one page. Every square inch of space crammed with something. And then people went, whoa, what are you doing? You take a step back and use white space, use
Negative space.
negative space. Oh, there we go, that's the...
They're talking about what music would be good for whilst you're cleaning, and someone suggested the Benny Hill theme tune.
I'm not chasing me, right?
And the Darude Sandstorm. Venga Boys.
Yeah, it's a funny old thing, music. It's...
Dave says Queen, I want to break free. No, that was the one where Freddie was pushing the vacuum cleaner around.
the one, what's the drummer's name?
Everyone knows Brian.
You got Brian May, Freddie Mercury,
Roger Taylor.
Roger Taylor.
Yes.
You actually watch the video and you think, actually, he does a good passable.
Narrow jawline.
Huh?
Narrow jawline. Theme from Acorn Antiques.
Yes, is that Ben?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mention this is overall area.
Yes.
Hi Ben. Yeah, Acorn Atom.
Taylor Swift.
Is that the same? Is it the same character though that does the suits? I know it's the same actress, but is it the same character
Yeah, that is Mrs. Overall.
doing the
Two suits.
Two suits. Yeah, 'cause I know she did all the. She was basically everything was done in a very. Where were we when I did that two soups impression, but passable impression? Was it in Ireland? No, Wales or something.
Oh,
Those people came in with the soups and that, and
They didn't get
they
it.
didn't get it. I was like,
But they were a lot younger than us.
yeah. Yeah, so as each piece of music comes on, I go, oh yeah, I use that in that video. But yeah, it's strange. So what would you be doing today, Neil, if you weren't sat here watching me clean?
This morning I started putting together the annual RMC charity calendar.
Oh,
So the deadline was last night, although a few late ones are coming in, a few late photos. So people are submitting pictures for the calendar, and the theme this year is system and game.
which I did last year.
You did, didn't
I
you?
did mine last year.
So the deadline was yesterday, but there are a few still coming in today, which I'm allowing, and then it's done. And
How's it looking?
Well, I've got more than 12 pictures in the
Ooh.
shortlist, so that's the important thing, isn't it? And the quality is incredible of some of these pictures, really, really high standard, so it's going to be a good calendar. And 100% of the profits go to a charity in Malmesbury who help people in poverty and having financial troubles.
And I'm guessing even more in need at the moment.
Exactly, you know, people who need help with things like paying for their winter fuel or just feeding themselves without going down the route of payday loans and things like that. So it will just help people out. So, yes. So the RMC charity calendar will go on sale. Just follow me on Twitter at RMC Retro, and I'll announce it there when it's available. And thank you to everyone who sent a photo in.
Not me this time, I was too lazy.
You did try to reuse last year's.
I did try
photo.
and reuse last year's. And thanks, Reese, for trying to persuade Neil for me to for that one to be on there. That was fun. No, I know the effort that goes in to doing a really good shot because a computer with all the reflections and everything, it's just trying to get that lighting, and CRT screens. I mean.
And I feel really bad rejecting photos. It's just, the standard of some of them is so high that they have to be in there. And photography is difficult. It's really difficult. It doesn't come natural to a lot. I'm a terrible photographer. I don't know how I can make videos because when I just try and take still frame photos, I'm terrible.
What made me a better photographer is purely because I can take hundreds of shots now. If I was trying to do what I did for that calendar picture with old 35mm film.
Yeah.
No.
Unless you've got deep pockets for film.
I've had hundreds of photos, and then I was like, yeah, I'm getting there. So trial and error is how I did that one, and then a little bit of Photoshop tweaking, just to get the CRT looking good, and improve shadows and stuff like that.
Ian asks, how's the book doing? The book is doing well. It's with the printer, so I'm just waiting for it to be delivered to me, and then I will ship it out to you. So the book is on schedule. Thank you for asking.
Looking forward to that. Oh, this Electron user had very dirty hands.
Is it coming up okay?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Coming up okay. Everything's textured on this. It's just having to scrub everything.
Controller Reese says, I'm looking forward to a cheese and pork night with Keith and Howard that we were discussing on Twitter last week.
Oh, yes.
Where is my invite?
Well, you didn't. You've got to follow closely Howard's tweets from Dubious Engineering. You followed him on Twitter and his great YouTube channel. And on Twitter, he will come out with some quite random stuff.
Oh, yes.
And he came out with this very strange swan neck glass with red liquid in it.
Pipe, yes.
It looks like
I
a
did
pipe.
see that one, yeah, but I didn't see the conversation.
So he was like, "What's this?" And Reese responded, "Well, you said what's this as well." I was like, and then you said port, which was right, so it is port. And then he was like, "Yeah, but what's it in?" And I went, "A port sipper."
A port sipper.
And I have no idea why I know that. Probably because I watched some of those antique roadshow, not antiques roadshow, but the ones where they go on the road and they all compete against each other.
Road trip.
Antique road trip.
David Dickinson's
Real deal, yeah.
Real Deal.
No, I used to watch that during lunchtimes, sometimes at work.
Oh, we does that. A dubious cheese board.
Yeah.
Sound advertising. Cheese or not cheese? Chris says, Neil, will we get a live unboxing on next month's stream? Yes. That is a regular, providing I have things to open, that is a part of my monthly streams.
Just be a shop here.
Boxes of old towels.
Yes. Towels.
Tub of roses if you're lucky.
Simon had a bad experience with port. It's one of those drinks that's not a good one to be ill on.
No, I mean
It's a waste of money of a good drink. And a good drink, but B, yeah, it's ugh.
It goes down like blackcurrant juice.
Yeah, I've not been ill on
It's,
port. I wouldn't like
just
to be.
Right. That's nice with a bit cheap.
Dave asked, is this the first deep clean of today? Is it the deepest clean that
Oh,
you've
this
had?
one?
Yeah.
This is definitely the one that's causing the most.
Yeah.
Whoever used this had quite grubby fingers, so you can't see, but all the cream keys, as I'm cleaning them, I can see like a tide mark. So I'm trying to get in there. There's nothing worse than. I mean, ideally, if this was, me and Neil doing this as one of our episodes, we would have prized off all the keys, washed them. But this isn't what this is about. This is about giving the museum a nice freshen up, so that when we get people back in, everything looks as nice as we can get it.
Simon, the towels went to the recycling bin, so that's where they went. Russell, does the Acorn have an expansion on the back? It looks longer somehow.
It does. Yeah. Sorry, you might have missed that. So this has the Acorn Electron Plus One, which was a bolt-on attachment, and literally it has two securing screws here. So push in, bolt on, and that gives a printer and cartridge slots, and I think the analog joystick. And that's pretty much it on that one. But I think there was a bigger one that gave disk drives, etc. But that had its own power supply. I think this is the only one that doesn't need a power supply because of what it's doing, but the other ones did.
And speak of the devil, Dubious Engineering has appeared in chat.
Yes.
Wow.
His ears were burning, weren't they?
How does that have to say his name and he just
That
appeared?
happened last with Alan, didn't it?
It did.
There he
Yes.
is. Hello, Howard. We've invited everyone in the chat to your cheese and pork night. We
Yeah.
just need to know when and where. We'll all turn up with our pork sippers.
Yes.
Across three is the bigger one, there's a surprise.
Howard's one of the other few brave individuals to have tried my cider.
Was he complimentary about it?
He went back to the vodka quite quickly, didn't he?
Yeah, you went back to your vodka.
Oh, he
and
likes his
whatever it was.
vodka and coke, doesn't he? Yeah.
However, I did have my special cider where I kind of added extra sugar and made it a bit more powerful. I think you've tried that one, haven't you?
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that was a bit more, that had a kick to it with a extra sweet taste. I think Howard's got a sweet tooth.
Hello, Flame Lily IT.
Ah.
Derek. Hello, Chris.
Of course, every time I see one of Derek or Flame Lily IT's pictures with all of his Amigas and then this Apple, whatever it was, a classic or something in the background, you go, and then you have to remember it's not an Apple.
Okay.
It's just a monitor that he's fitted inside a,
Oh,
a gutted
okay.
case.
Hacked it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when that's been at Swag, it's like, that's not going to be. However, I am one of the guilty party of taking non-Amigas to Swag.
Took a Jaguar, didn't you?
I took a Jaguar, to the
It was
last
the
one.
speedball.
And
Everything
then,
running speedball, wasn't it?
because that kind of, if you're going to do something for the first time, kind of go big or go home. I did all those computers running Speedball. Speedball
That's
2.
right, yeah.
I had an Acorn 500, Acorn A500, Archimedes. I had the Amiga. I had the CD32, ST 1040. What else did I have? Did I have the 64? Can't remember. But I did have as well a Game Boy. That's got to be the worst version of Speedball 2.
You had the Amstrad Mega PC?
Oh, I did, yes, but running both the PC and the Mega Drive versions. That was it. Yeah, it was good fun. There was a lot of kit to move, I'll give it that.
Was that hello, Chris? Chris, he wants us to say hello to you. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Say hello to Chris.
I'm just cleaning fluff out with cracky. Because it's really, I can see there's a lot of fluff down there.
Yeah,
Cleaning
get
the
the
fluff
fluff
out
out
the
the
crack.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's fluff. I think that's obviously what Electrons had a problem with. Up in the crack.
Crack
Fluff
fluff.
regret.
Right, almost done this one. We've got one more to do.
Any signs of ownership on that one? Because sometimes you get the postcode in a UV pen or something like that on the bottom.
Oh, that's a good point. I never.
Actually,
We should do that, shouldn't we?
Run a UV light over the clean ones, not the,
Yeah.
the dirty ones.
Yeah, you probably don't go no. Yes, this person owned Maria Whittaker's Sam Fox strip poker.
Apparently you should remove the expansion and you can gain full access to the
To
crack.
the crack fluff.
No. I keep finding bits I haven't done. This one has texture on all sides, I think.
What says my mum knows a Wurzel? Do you know any Wurzels?
What, as in Wurzel Gummidge? Or the Wurzels as in
the Wurzels, combined harvest.
Combine Harvest, yeah, I do break out into West Country. If that was a comment on that.
Oh, Howard's asking about donating to the museum. Do you want to hold up your sign again?
Yes.
Oh yes,
So, in a very low-tech method, we are at the Museum of Computing, and their website is www.museumofcomputing.org.uk. And if you go to their webpage, there's a donate. And if you look on there should be the usual socials information, and you can follow their Twitter account so that when we open, it should be on there. Right.
Yeah, that toothbrush is X, Mrs. TDO's.
Yes, that's not mine. That is Mrs. TDO's X toothbrush.
Reese is impressed with the amount of love it's being shown.
There we go. Looking a bit better. Certainly better to go back in. Right, now we're talking dirty. Dirty.
Oh, this is the one, is it? This is by far the dirtiest machine on display, I think.
I would say so. Yeah. This is the Mattel Aquarius. This one's got Microsoft Basic, if I remember. And this one's got the 16K memory pack already.
I could just pull it out if you need.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to pull it for the minute. But
Familiar with the Aquarius Custado,
yeah, and you can get an expansion that comes out the back, similar to what the Acorn Electron had, which would then allow two vertical cartridge slots, and inbuilt, you get some joysticks with it. Well, joy pads.
Also had a sound chip built into that extending thing.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it gave you better sound if you bought that.
I've got one of these at home, and somebody.
I have a message held for review, but I think I can show it. Shall I show it?
Well, if you think it's suitable,
I think so.
it's probably just the usual YouTube algorithms going. Ooh.
Oh.
Aquarius users are filthy, says Ben.
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, this one's had a little bit of a
Hard life.
Annoyingly, though, they've decided to build into the actual main supply, so you can't disconnect that, which is a bit annoying. Because if that went wrong, you'd have to.
I seem to remember it might just be a plug on the inside. When you actually open the
Okay.
whole computer up, I seem to remember you can just pull it off the motherboard.
I'm not
be misremembering. I did check my power supply before I powered it up for the first time. I don't remember it being a big hassle.
And a lot of the games, this has got a very similar Spectrum Dead Flesh keyboard, but you've got overlays with this. It's got positions you can take off this and put in overlays to go with different games. So, yeah, again, a lot of these let down by their graphics, really, I think. I don't know how well this one's going to come up.
Yeah, it all.
Oh, thank you,
everything,
Howard.
everything depended on the character set to build those graphics, didn't it?
Yes, you couldn't do your own. It wasn't bitmap graphics. I think any computer where in the mid 80s it '83. Yes, Mattel Aquarius, '83. After the success of the Intellivision games console, Mattel wanted to make a system more like a personal computer. Only 21 software titles released for the Aquarius, mostly imports from the Intellivision. Yeah. Ended after only 4 months due to poor sales. Now, Neil, you've done an in-depth on this on your channel.
It was some time ago, but yes. Yeah, it was a massive flop. It was a failure. As soon as you use it, you can see why. It's incapable of pretty much anything you would want a computer to do. But there were 1 or 2 comments on the series from people who said, yes, that I started out in computing with that machine and they're now a programmer. So, you know, it served some people well. I think those that did own them picked them up in the bargain bins when they were already, you know, reduced down to about £20 and just went, oh, we'll see what it is. And then if they were into it, they got into computing, they quickly realised they needed something better and they moved on. But it still gave some people a start.
Yeah, because I mean, we're talking of an era when most people didn't have a computer, they were only just getting them. You know, a lot. I mean, Jo, Mrs. TDO, she, well, until pretty much living with me, you didn't really have a computer, did you? No. So.
Palm Pilot was my first computer.
Palm Pilot M400,
I think it was. Yeah.
which we saw.
Howard has very kindly made a donation to the
It
museum.
has.
And he would like Mrs. TDO to blow him a kiss, but I'm afraid I'm on this side of the camera, so I'm going to blow you a kiss, Howard.
Come around here. Come around.
I come around here.
What's wrong with my kiss?
Who needs Streamlabs?
2 kisses for you.
Now this case has got some quite. Unfortunately, this one's got quite a few marks on it, and they're not coming out with just that at all. I might just try something a little bit of more pure IPA, but what I might be doing is looking in the stocks for another one of these at some point.
That doesn't work, we try the cider.
Yeah. I do have at home though. I showed it on my. Is this coming up? I showed it when I did up the. I've forgotten what it was now. What it was? It was the game, Alan's game.
Oh, the Firefox.
Firefox. That's it. That it comes in a set of 3. So you've got number 1, which is like a nice thing, gives a nice shine, but 2 and 3 are more aggressive. Still fine, but they're like a polish with a.
Yeah. Destado suggests magic eraser or baking powder. Yeah, I use those.
Don't mention the Dremel.
It's got a textured finish though. Does that work on those?
The baking powder does, because it gets into those little textured nooks and crannies and then gives you a little bit of an abrasive effect, but you know, we're not talking sandpaper here. It just loosens up that dirt and then it dissolves.
So I think this is going to get something like that. So.
Hi Laura, good to see you here.
Oh, she's also, this is Laura, I think, she's also joining Reese and myself for Howard's.
Everyone's at the
yeah,
port,
sorry, did you not get your invite, Neil?
I've got a nice 1998 bottle of port sat in my cupboard, which I can bring, but if I'm not invited, then I can't share it with you.
Why did the designers put all these like fake lines in and stuff?
Because it was cool.
Cool, like go faster stripes. And they just collect the dirt.
Oh, thank you, Howard. I'm officially invited. Now he knows I've got a nice bottle of port.
Oh yeah.
I'm invited. Howard, I'll bring you this cider as well. You can have some of this. Keith's cider. I know you like it.
Use it as paint strip. It's about time I started making new cider. The tree, the apples are already falling off the tree.
Simon, behave. Hell of a sample.
I don't know. I've seen worse.
Russell says, I wonder if people will be screaming the deep clean of a collection of old Mac Minis in 20 years. I think they will.
Yeah. I mean, I think they will, purely for the thing that I remember when I was taking apart what was my first PC, and I was just sort of keeping bits and chunking the rest, and thinking at the time, I don't need to save any because I'll never want to have it again.
Who would want this? It's
Yeah,
old and slow.
I kept all my Amigas, I kept all my Amstrad and the ZX81, but at the point that I got a PC, it kind of stopped. But seeing everybody else getting back into the PC scene, putting together 486, I've got an eBay reminder, alert to tell me if a particular computer that I had used to, and it's like, why am I doing this to myself?
And you've got a whole museum to play in as well.
I have the one I would really like to get back. I mean, I'm sure we've all got things that we sold that we regret, but the one thing I sold was, funny enough, it's an Archimedes 8010. It's one of the early ones, so it's got internal mezzanine card, and it's probably going on to something recent on the back. So when the 3010, which was the kind of Amiga competition that Acorn were putting out, the one with the green buttons rather than the red, which was the 320.
It's like a wedge with a bulbous back, that one.
It's kind of curved, yeah. It's still flat on top, but it curves over the back. Inside, it was to have the new 250 chip, I think, which was almost like getting to that silicon on a system on a chip, where they started to bring in all the other chips into one piece. But they didn't have it ready enough, so they created a little mezzanine card where you had the separate ARM2 and these other chips, these other three chips. And that's the one that's more valuable because you can upgrade that easily to an ARM3.
Okay.
Because you can get a daughter board on the ARM2, whereas the rest of them you can't because it's inside in this chip. And I won that when I worked for Dixon's. I got on the train, I went all the way to Bristol to the launch of the 3010 and all these people coming from various places, and we got given a lottery ticket, like a raffle ticket. No, like you get a school thing. Given a little ticket as you came in, and I was surprised they drew up my ticket, and I won this great big thing that I had to carry home on the train that night. Going, and I kept it. I didn't use it. We played with it a couple of times, and then it just sat there, so it's hardly used. And I put it on eBay when we talked about 2010, and I think it went for about 20 quid. And that's boxed, mint, all the games. It was the Run for Gold pack, I think it was called. I've still got all the eBay photos. I've got the serial number, so I know exactly which one it is.
Are you hoping to back somebody?
I have been known to contact certain eBay people to say, can you show me the serial number on the back of that one, please? I'm hoping one day. I have actually got the, not particularly GDPR compliant, but I have the address still of the guy I sold it to, but it's such a long time ago that I doubt I don't think he lives there anymore. And it would be lovely to get that back, but it's the sort of thing that once somebody knows that, they might go.
My first mini, I made a Gauntlet mini arcade machine on the channel a while back. But that's one of a pair. I made another one in 2010. And I sold it on eBay because I needed the money. And that's one of a kind that's out there. Well, there's two of a kind, but I've got the other one. So I know that other one is out there, and I'd love to buy that. So if you ever see a mini Gauntlet arcade cabinet on sale, let me know. Because I built it and I want it back.
There is always a possibility though that it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I could have just gone on the scrap heap, yeah.
I think the person who bought one, because he actually messaged me to say, oh, that was a really good deal, wasn't it? And you're like, yes, it was a good deal.
If you're streaming from a phone, would it be possible to give us a tour of the museum when the cleaning is over, or maybe something for another stream?
I think for another stream.
Yeah, we've only got the lights on in the corner where we are.
Yeah,
It's close to the public at the moment, so it's not all, some parts aren't quite set up, I guess. We can get it ready to do that, can't we? Say we.
Yeah.
You can get it ready to do that.
What do people think about virtual tours? I mean, obviously people like them, but is that something you'd throw a few pennies in the pot for?
Virtual tour?
Virtual tour. Yeah.
Would it be sort of personalised in some way for that person?
Ooh.
Because if it's
Interesting
not,
idea.
then you could just make a video. But if it's
Getting a couple of thumbs up for that. Yeah.
a couple of thumbs up,
Although Costado has pointed out that after the cleaning is over, the first system is dirty again. So
yeah.
there's a lot to
Yeah.
clean.
Well, this one's not coming up amazing. It's coming up better, but there's some quite deep marks, and I think I'm going to be needing to use something more abrasive, which I didn't bring with me.
Baking soda for fluffy muffins.
Yeah. Like I said, I've got the special plastic cleaner that I might try on it.
Is this the museum's cleaning box, or is this your personal cleaning kit?
This one's my personal one.
Okay.
There is a museum one somewhere, but.
Costado says bring out the spray paint.
Ooh, now we're getting
He knows what buttons to push.
Yeah.
Kian says a general tour with a donation link works. A personal paid for tour would be a separate thing and also work.
Yeah, I've not really thought about the personal thing. I did suggest on a committee meeting that maybe people would hire out the museum for the day or something, you know.
So they're only attending with their group of 6 people that
Yeah,
they're
but
allowed
instead
to.
of being like an hour or so visit, maybe they obviously it would have to be more, but
I mean, there's plenty of hands-on machines here that you can sit down and play on. So to have them for the day and not feel rushed, I think people would pay good money for that.
yeah, especially if it gets rid of the desire to then fill up their own homes.
Reese says, is that the Aquarius box on top of the
It
camera?
is.
It's showing me what it should look like. Oh no, is that the printer?
Cool, I got a text message.
So we've got the Aquarius with the add-on that we were talking about with the vertical cartridge slots that also comes with these 2 joypads, and then this one's got a printer on the back as well, which I've not seen that. There we go.
We dusted that last week. That was lucky, wasn't it?
Yes, the box itself got dusted. It doesn't really show off anything more than that. So I don't think I'm going to get... And this is an interesting one because you can see on some bits it's sort of yellowed in places. So I don't think any amount of cleaning will shift some of that. So I think with this one, it's got to the point now where I've got it as clean as possible just to go back into the cabinet and not look too shabby. But if I could find a better looking one, I would think I would swap it out and use this as a what we call a handling computer, one that people can go and play on. Because all of these ones that have got cartridge support are really good for museums because you can just have the cartridge in there. Either that, you've got to start looking at. They're not hugely expensive now, but the SD card solutions. What I'd like to see on some of those SD card solutions is almost like a museum mode, where I can say that game, and that game.
A tracked mode. Yeah.
Turn off settings, put it behind a power, almost like you get on your set-top box, like so you can put a passcode on it. Yeah, I don't think this is going to come up any better. Right, so that's those done. Now it's just the boring part of cleaning the windows.
It looks a lot better than when you started, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure the glass is going to come out this one. I would have to adjust all of this. I think this is a bit too low down to get the glass out. Normally they lift out, but I'd have to get the Allen key out and start adjusting things. So I'm going to clean that one. These in situ, I think.
Dave says it's painful watching you work.
Painful? Painful in what way?
I think it's the wrestling the glass. Just say, be careful, Keith!
I know, when you're holding like glass and you're going, don't break, don't break. But,
Someone just said you're so destructive before you nearly destroyed something.
They go in the same place they came out.
I hope so, because I've taken a plan.
So this must be next week's.
I think at this rate, I'm not
thing.
going to do this one this week. That's next week. I mean, it's at least an hour of caressing.
Oh, on the
464.
outside, yeah.
And then, I don't know, 10 minutes on the rest.
Well, the dragon's already clean, isn't it? 'Cause you've
Dragon's
done that
clean.
one.
The
Yeah.
dragon looks absolutely beautiful. And if you like that one, have a look at the video. You can see all inside in it.
Peter says, I live near Swindon and wish I could help out with something. Well, check out the museum's website, Peter, and
We have skills.
perhaps you could volunteer to help
Yeah.
out.
We need volunteers for all sorts of things. I personally like doing the behind the scenes tinkering, just generally slowly improving things. But a core part of the volunteering part is just being here on a Saturday. When we were open, it's just being here to greet people, to obviously keep an eye on things. To people, I mean, some people that are good at coding, that can teach coding, that would be fantastic. I'm neither of those.
Yeah, there's a classroom downstairs, isn't there? And you have kids sessions in ordinary times,
Yes.
teaching kids to code. It's difficult finding the people to do that. I'm not a volunteer here at the museum because I haven't got the time, unfortunately, but I do try my best to help raise awareness of the museum
and
and
we are.
help on things like this.
Grateful for Neil for raising getting the word of the museum out.
It's amazing how many people don't know it's here locally.
Yes.
Reese has offered the donation of some paper clips. I don't know, we'll go there.
Reese, stop pressing that button. But it's.
I would like to say that I haven't used paper clips. I have, jumped ATX power supply to make it work in an Amiga, so it bypasses those initial checks and turns on. It's not unusual to.
Right, but an ATX
Jump.
power supply is what, at most 12 volts. And
True,
to switch it on,
true.
isn't it a +5 to ground?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not. Yeah. Mains
Fine.
voltage electricity. Yeah, that was. I'm looking forward to.
No, Winsome Hacks, it was not.
Yeah.
They do look nice on the table there, on the stream, those nice clean machines.
Can you see them? Because it doesn't look like it's much of a...
Clean machine D.
Clean machine D. Russell says, a friend of mine visited last year, loved it. I've walked past the place a couple of times years ago. Perhaps when all this blows over, I shall go in. Russell only lives in Wootton Bassett. I think I'm right in saying that, Russell. So, yes, no excuses.
Wood.
Royal
Wood.
Wootton
Wood.
Bassett. Simon Barnes, I used to live in Bath and I didn't know it was there. It's not, it's in Swindon.
Yes, this was the first computer museum in the country. Before this place existed, I would have had to have gone to somewhere like the Science Museum. I did, but I still like going to them.
I remember seeing an Apple I at the London Science Museum. Because I know you're probably talking about the Swindon
No.
bit. Oh no, you mean the London?
Right, yeah. So in Swindon, we've got the Science Museum have a large storage space up on the old Lawton airfield, and they'd have open days. I don't think they've had one of those in a long time. Also used by the Top Gear or the Grand Tour. I think Grand Tour used it as well for either manual cars. But they store the big stuff like the planes and that there. I did go to a couple of computer fairs there once.
It used to be open permanently. They closed it about 8 years ago to the public.
I think it's turned into a all the space they've used for a solar farm.
Oh, okay. Grand Tour have or had a track there, so that's
Yes.
possible.
Yeah, it wasn't Top Gear because they had their other one, but when they split off, I think they used that place.
The Science Museum, says Costado, had a slightly disappointing 8-bit micro display. It's been many years since I've been to the London Science Museum, but I just remember they had an original Apple I in a glass cabinet that you could look at. And even back then, it must have been 15 years ago, you know, this was a £100,000 computer. Just to think what you'd pay now.
I mean, the Science Museum in London was the first place I got to play on a Doomsday setup, because
Oh, yes.
our school
Yeah.
was never part of that. So that was good. I believe we've got one here, but I'm just trying to locate all the bits. That would be nice
I've
to
seen
see.
the Laserdisc player
Mm.
in the stores. Yeah, I haven't seen the disc itself.
No, I'm trying to get a handle on that. Sticky. So what video should Reese be working on at the moment? I distracted him last weekend. Okay.
Castado's put a picture. Oh, okay, I see what you're showing us, Castado. The Science Museum, he's put a picture in Discord. I would say this display looks more impressive than that one. Yeah, that's the 8-bit micros at the London Science Museum.
Yeah, it's very, not many. A taster.
Reese says he's working on one of my monthly roundup behind the scenes videos. My patrons bought me a present.
Ooh. Yes, I spent yesterday setting up a Patreon account.
Oh,
But yes, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. But yes, it's set up.
Oh, he said at least he would be if he wasn't watching this.
I think anything that went in there would be going towards either an editing PC or an ultrasonic cleaner, which I would have to share with this guy.
well, a big one, yeah. I've got a little one, Keith. If you want to share a big one.
I've been looking at ones big enough to get an Amiga 2000 keyboard in. Not keyboard, motherboard.
Motherboard.
And they're not small.
Reese, no, the museum doesn't have a Patreon, but they do have a donate button on the front of their webpage, which is just a PayPal account. So,
It would be, I've thought about looking into, what if we did more streams, what it would take to get that linked in, because I know from watching other people's streams that it's nice to see, because you're not just, it's giving
people making donations.
Yeah,
and
you get the little
recognition
animations and
for it.
stuff
oh,
like
okay, yeah.
that. It's a nice touch. I'm not sure how I would do that, but
What about Streamlabs and OBS?
yeah.
How many patrons do you have, Keith?
He hasn't opened
Is
it,
it-
or
they
you've
just
only just
started?
opened it?
Just opened it.
Just opened.
Just opened. It's been there as a thing because I'm a patron to Neil and a couple of other people.
So what's the website? Patreon.com/
The Digital Orphanage, which Neil does exactly what I do, which is spell it wrong every time.
Check again.
Who's done that?
You have a patron.
I don't. Do
You
I?
do.
When?
You have one patron.
As of now, Velociraptor.
No, seriously, what's that? Oh, it's too kind of you. Certainly, everything that comes in through that way is going to be spent on the channel and the museum, and it's just, yeah. No, thank you. That's really kind of you. He wants to be the first.
Yeah.
He's my first. Not creepy at all, am I?
Mind your own.
Alright, nearly at the point to put them back in.
There you go. Now you have two.
Two?
Oh.
Who's the other one?
Me.
Ah,
Oh.
thank you. Seems a bit weird though, like I give you. Who wins? Patreon. The only thing with Patreon, is it my computer at home or is Patreon's website slow?
I don't have a problem with it. Right.
No.
Okay.
I just find my computer. It's just, yeah, I don't know.
I think you need a new computer now.
This is something I'm thinking of. I need to sort this out for my birthday. I need to treat myself. I'm one of these people who, unless they can really justify something, I've been saying to myself, when my channel takes off, I will treat myself to a new editing computer. It takes a lot longer.
Would your old machine be a suitable streaming machine for here, or is it too large?
I think it's physically
Yeah.
too big. I mean, it might do. Something I'd do. Yeah, it'd be nice to get a streaming PC that.
I'm just trying to help you justify the purchase, you know, or if I can use that old one as a streaming machine.
Does everybody stream on the computer they're using though, or because I know a lot of people have dedicated
I have a
streaming
separate
PCs.
one which I use for streaming and audio recording. But it is. Oh no, it wasn't. It was my old PC. So I have my main PC that I do my editing on, and then the previous one is relegated to streaming duties, and then the one before that is the one that Lily uses at home to run her business. So I've got 3 generations of my old PCs. Still in action, still in service.
Roll straight into the museum.
And then they get an episode.
When they're retro now.
Yes, unfortunately, I tend to go and get seduced by, I don't know, Amigas on eBay or something like that when I should be getting something more useful.
Reese says, I use the same laptop for everything. I do all my editing on a 15-inch 4K screen.
That's a nice resolution, but that's small. You've obviously got much better eyesight than me, which is going something.
Take care, Howard. He's gone for his dinner.
Bye, Howard.
So is this just going to clean these two panes and then everything's going
Everything's going
back
back in.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it was pointed out that I cleaned one piece of glass about 6 times last week.
Front and back, front and back, front and back.
I have this thing about forgetting what I'm doing while I'm talking.
Costado says it's like watching a mine clean the air.
It's so clean.
And from last week, I have my highly technical pencil scribbled plan that I know where everything goes back in. So we will start with, from the bottom up, the Acorn Atom. Here.
Do you have any idea where you got the stands from that someone can sit on?
These? No, I don't.
Quite useful.
They are and they're not, because I've noticed a couple of these have had like blue tack, white tack on the bottom, so they're obviously slipping off. So I think there's something. I mean, we've got a few of these, which have got that
Yeah, they're handy.
tick. I did wonder about having a go at making something.
Maybe 3D print something.
Well, I mean, you could make something like that quite easily with if you made the form and you just got the perspex and heated it and bent it. I think the other thing with this aluminium is it's quite shiny and it doesn't grip it. I think if that had maybe a rubber, maybe. The problem is I think these are quite good because they probably won't react with any plastics or rubber. But if you used a rubber or something, you've got to make sure. Maybe a silicon rubber. Maybe like this clear silicon hose, and you split it. Maybe something like that on that would help.
Costado says, were the computers arranged in alphabetical order? No.
No. They are generally in date age, so they generally go 80s onwards that way. However, that's not completely true because obviously we've got mostly the Sinclairs. We have got all the Sinclairs in one. I'm not sure, apart from generally, the more you go that way, I think the slightly later they get, I would say, but not hugely. How would you arrange them? Would you do them strictly chronological or in makes or?
I like to see the same brand range together, so I like to see all the Sinclairs so you can see how the design of the machine
evolution. Yeah.
evolved, yeah, rather than looking at a Z80 there and a ZX Spectrum over here.
It is nice to see the competition, but yeah. And how do you make that? You can't have it both ways unless you've got loads and loads of room to be able to have that. You've got to pick one way or the other, really. So that was Acorn.
Simon says you should display in colour order.
So is that shades of beige? Velociraptors suggested hot glue, I assume for sticking them down.
Hot glue action.
Double-sided sticky tape. Costado says he'd go with brand and then within that chronological order. I'm with you on that, Costado. I like that.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, which is pretty much what we've got on this side.
Yeah.
We've got the ZX80, 81, the first Spectrum, the follow-on Spectrum, the Amstrad Spectrum, and then the QL. So yeah. And when I shuffled some of these around the other day to get the Dragon better, because the Dragon was down here and it was a bit cramped because it's quite a deep computer, that just getting the Commodores in roughly date order, which is
Velociraptor says, but no PC 200.
Neil's going in together. We need to get this one on display. Yes. No, we're not the biggest museum, so we don't have room for
PC 200.
everything.
There you
Ah, it is.
There you go. That's quite big. That won't fit. Have to go on a top shelf.
Top shelf.
Top shelf computer.
Top shelf computer. Ooh, some of these look quite nice under the blue light.
That's what I suggested.
16.
I should point out that there were a couple of screws missing in the PC 200 when I took it apart, so
It wasn't you.
it wasn't me.
It's what you're
Yes, is
trying
what
to
I'm saying.
say.
It wasn't me.
Have we got any cardboard cutouts of Sir Clive and Sir Alan?
Oh,
There's
I
a
think
picture
this.
of Sir Clive.
There
at
is a
home.
picture of Sir Clive on his C5 just off camera going like that. And we do have a C5 here. People often sit in it and take their pictures with it.
Does the museum have a Z88?
Yes, I believe so, yes. And Sir Clive actually visited the museum, I believe. Yes, I'm pretty certain he actually came here. There's
Yes,
a picture somewhere.
There's pictures of
Yeah.
Simon.
This is long before I volunteered. Right, I think we're just getting all this in.
Were those top ones tilted or were they?
Yeah, I think they were. I'm going to just try and.
I'm just thinking of short people.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that had a.
Yeah, that works. Alan Sugar was talking about opening his own Amstrad museum a while back. I don't know if that's come into fruition or not.
It was hard to tell whether it was a museum for his own use,
Yeah.
or whether it was actual proper opening museum. But I don't know. I think he was basically just slapping himself on the back of it.
I think so. Is that really what he's doing, Bruce? He says Alan Sugar is more interested in flogging cosmetic surgery and his pyramid scheme cosmetics thing on Twitter these days.
He did get.
Is there some truth in that?
Yeah, well, through his The Apprentice type thing and his other investments, he's often tweeting effectively adverts to other.
Oh, okay.
And I believe he got slapped on the wrist because he tweeted about something he didn't declare
Didn't
it as
declare
an
that it was
as an
a
advert.
sponsored thing.
Yeah, so.
Amway's knockoff. Is this product placement?
Huh? Oh. Yes, not sponsored by Pledge or anybody.
Ed Hannock says, I'd like to see a room entirely dedicated to Amstrad emailers, all playing retro games or doing video calls to others across the room.
There were different models of it, though,
It's
weren't
like
there?
an
There
art
were.
installation. Isn't
There was
it?
a mono version and a colour version, and it had a Spectrum emulator built in because they actually you could buy the Spectrum games for it.
That's right, because it had a Z80 CPU in it, so you could dial up and download Manic Miner, and I don't know if you paid per minute to play it or something. I can't remember now, but they're all useless now. You can't, the services don't exist to let you use them anymore.
I mean, I'll give Amstrad this in terms of allowing the ROMs to be used. I don't think there's been any problems there in terms of the emulation scene using ROMs. And,
Yeah, it's just the use of the name where people get funny, isn't it?
yeah. Whereas obviously in the Amiga world, the ROMs are still people are selling them still. You know.
Yeah, Celesta has just been informed by the mere mention of the word Amiga. Are you there?
That's how it is with the Amiga ROMs.
Yeah. Right. Do you know what? Do I need these two? What ones do you think need these? Neil, what do you think? I've got these left over, and I'm not sure actually any of them need them.
You could put the Auric here on a tilt to match the one opposite, so they're
So those two
symmetrical.
there. Yeah. Sure they are well.
Oh, well, that one is well.
Oh, 4 patrons now.
No. I always think, why would anybody for me? It's like, thank you very much. It's very nice of you.
3.
Neil, who was your first patron? It was a chap called Dustin in Texas. He's no longer a patron. But he does pop into our little Discord once in a while for a chat, but I know life took over, so he's not chatting quite as much as he used to.
No, but I think, you know, especially after probably the apocalypse, the Patreon is something that effectively rescued the smaller interest channels.
Well, the whole thing about YouTube paying lots of money for adverts was a little bit before my time. I think I had 1 month on the old kind of rate when I started to pick up a lot of subscribers, and then there was that apocalypse nosedive, so I never really enjoyed the fruits of how it used to be. So yeah, Patreon was a lifesaver in terms of moving it forward. No way you could be dependent on ad revenue alone unless you're
No.
in the millions of views per month. Yeah.
And I know, you know, everybody puts a lot into their own channels, and I know how much I've spent on my own channel just out of a hobby, really. No, it's really nice. Thank you. Right, I have finished now. Would you believe? That is finished. How do we? What do you think, Neil? Inspection. Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's clean. It looks a hell of a lot better than when it started. When I saw that this morning when I came in, immediately I could see a difference from the last time I was here. And the addition of the lights is. It looks like a proper museum display.
Thank you. Seriously, if anybody wants to volunteer here, or if you've got another computer museum near you, volunteers are the lifeblood of these museums, because you know, they don't make huge amounts of money, and it's more about education. And certainly the founders of this museum, it's all about education. Being able to come here, learn about things, everything from the tabulation machines, card punches, all the way through to the modern consoles.
There's so much that we're looking at over here that you can't see, so
Yeah.
I think some kind of tour would be brilliant to show people that until they can physically come here and enjoy it. Yeah.
So I'll work on that. So the next thing I need to do though is work on some kind of stream PC that we can sort of move you around, and radio mics and that kind of stuff, because I've got some of the equipment, I just need to sort of figure out the rest. But do you want to have a closer look, and then we will to say goodbye, I think.
Do you want the camera in there?
If you could unplug the power, Joe.
Well, you kind of
No, you just unplug the power. I see,
stuck
I
the
stuck it
labels
there.
over it.
Alright, unplug it from the other.
There you
Do you
go.
want to fold it?
It's a bit wobbly.
Sorry if anybody gets seasick. Let's put the glass across. And there we go. All looking nice, clean, ready for new visitors. Right, here I am. Oh, you can see some of the.
You can see.
Here he
I was gonna
comes.
creep up on you.
He's going to creep up on me, and here I am.
He's a bit floppy.
he's a bit floppy. So it's goodbye from me. Goodbye from Mr. TDO. Say goodbye, Mr. TDO. Ooh. It's goodbye from C3PO. And it's goodbye from Neil.
Tiny Neil. Bye bye.
Bye everyone.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.